John Hutzko.
Russ Smith. Michael O'Brien.
Lori G.
John Cutler.
Great. And if everyone would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have two upcoming meeting dates, one on April 2nd and one on April 16th. And we have one set of minutes we need to approve from our February 5th meeting, and it looks like all of us were here. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes, and do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, and the first item on our agenda is an extension of final approval for Shapiro lot line realignment.
Would you like me to sign in first?
Sure, thank you.
Yes, I'd like an extension. My time ran out or is running out, and we haven't got it resolved yet.
Are you getting closer?
We
I
should,
could report to the board that the
Okay.
neighboring property owner who's involved with the easement, their attorney gave us a fourth proposal last Thursday.
Okay,
And we're reviewing that tomorrow with the highway superintendent. We think it may be an acceptable resolution of it, but we have to get his agreement.
okay.
And if so, then, we'll finalize the paperwork probably within 2 weeks thereafter.
Okay. So, how long of an extension are you looking for?
I'm not going to wait forever on this. I don't need a real long one because I don't know if you've known what's been going on for the last 6 months or not, but hasn't been pleasant for me. And I thought I was doing the right thing to try and make it easier for everybody, but it's been a nightmare for me. And I finally reached the end of my rope, so if it hopefully gets resolved within a very short time, I'll continue with it. But if it's going to get dragged on for months and months and months, I'm just going to just go a different route. So
Okay.
whatever you think is appropriate, 60 days, I don't
I'm
know.
sorry, Tom, is the only issue still the easement? Is that, or are there additional?
Yeah, the only issue is the easement. We had, previously, the town had met on the site with the neighbor
Right.
and had come up with 3 different scenarios. The neighbor chose one. We did all the paperwork and accompanying documents for that, forwarded it to them maybe 5-6 weeks ago. And then last week, we heard from for the first time from the attorney for them, proposing yet a 4th rendition of everything, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and
The only thing, I know Mr. Jewett, but I think his engineer had asked for a 90-day extension on
90
this, just to
days.
cover the
Is that
processing.
sufficient for you?
more than sufficient,
Okay.
because, like I said, I don't know when we met out at the site with Scott, and I thought everything was okay, that she accepted. Scott gave her 3 different proposals. She rejected 2 of them, accepted the 3rd one. I was under the impression that everything was all set. Were you at that time?
Yes, yes,
And
I
that's approximately 4 months ago. So here we are 4 months later, and there's still problems. So I don't know what I could even say. And that's it. 90 days is more than enough.
Okay. Okay.
Motion to extend 90 days.
As long as nobody else on the board has any questions, I have a motion to extend 90 days. Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor? Aye. 90 days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The next item on our agenda is an adjourned public hearing for Taconic Innovation Site Plan on Route 376. Yes, and if you have your map that we can put up on the laptop. Do I have a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, Mark Day, Day Engineering, representing Taconic Innovations. There's two projects here. This is actually two pieces. This is actually this
And
parcel.
Mark,
right-
if I can just have you come up to the microphone for us, because we do broadcast and record
Okay.
this. Thank you.
This is actually two parcels right now. There's an application in front of the assessor's office to remove this common lot line. This parcel I'm going to refer to as 877. This parcel is 879. 877, this parcel was actually a site plan that was approved by the planning board prior. While or after that was approved, the applicant purchased the adjoining property. This property is best known, it's on Route 376. This is the Motorola building, formerly owned by Bonte. The intersection of 376 Robinson Lane and Lake Walton is right about here. I'll give you a location of where we're at. The 877 project is about 4,000 square foot, 5,000 square foot building. A one-story, it's a actual facility for therapy for autistic clients. The second building, which you see here, is the 879 building, is the administration building that would serve as Taconic Innovations headquarters. Currently, they're located across the street at the 872 site, which is right here. They needed more space, and they also needed additional place to have services to offer to clients. This half of the building is on the first floor. It's about 5,000 square feet, is dedicated also to autistic clientele. And they come and go during the day, and at the end of the day, they're actually transported back to home. The project, 877, is currently under construction. You may have seen it. It's right now, the walls are up, the roof is on it. They're doing some interior framing right now. This project, when we brought it back to the board, we decided to do a campus style. Originally, we had proposed an entrance that was existing here that served an old residence that was since razed. Once this property was purchased, we met with the applicant, and we thought this was an existing entrance which served the Motorola site, and we just thought it was a better idea to just get rid of this entrance and this road and come in with a campus style. And what it did was we originally had an entrance on this side of the building. We flipped it so it would face the proposed building at 879 and allowed a lot more green space to be used. We were able to come up with our parking here. We're land banking some parking here, which means it's proposed if we need it. We don't feel we need it because of the current use. So we're going to leave it as green space. Right now, we're in front of the Board of Health. We pretty much got everything resolved. The DOT has approved this entrance. We had to make improvements to the existing entrance as the radii were substandard, and some of the this catch basin here needed to be raised, and we needed to do some regrading along this corridor of 376 because it was low in some spots, and the DOT wanted it raised, which we've done and have been permitted. Currently, there's a well that serves the 879 site. We originally proposed a well to serve this site. We've met with the Board of Health, and they are going to allow us to utilize this well to serve this building. And when this building is constructed, we're also going to use this well to serve this building. It would become a public water supply because there's over 25 employees in this building, or 25 offices. So by law, it becomes a non-transient, non-community public water supply. What we're going to do is then route this well into a treatment area located in this corner of the building, treat the water, serve this building, and then backfeed the 877. There is talk possibly that the municipal water line, which is down the road, would be extended, and our client, the applicant, has expressed an interest to make that connection when the time comes. It's pretty much everything we've got. If there's any questions.
And Mark, I think.
Sorry.
Mark, I think when we last saw this, you were headed back to the ARB.
Correct.
Any changes to the buildings?
What we
concerns?
did, the ARB had asked that we put a row of soldier course on the masonry veneer. We also did some coins on the corners. They wanted us to match the color of the beige on the 877 facility. Oh, good. They wanted us to match the color, this color, to the EFIS color on this building. Our plotters, it's very difficult to get, with this program, to get the colors to work, but in the end, this EFIS, this total wall EFIS system will match this beige. We did change the roof of the building to be a hunter green. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see very much of it. It's a very low pitch roof. The window frames are actually a hunter green as well. This is the coin that we added on the corners. We added a raised soldier course here. We raised soldier course up on the upper by the fascia. And pretty much that was it.
Okay.
We're proposing to use a Flemish bond, not that it really, unless you're really into masonry, you're really not going to know what that means.
Okay.
But that was,
But they're not requesting any other changes at this point? They're satisfied with what you
Yes.
presented? Okay. And Pam, I know we don't have their official minutes yet, but they issued their approval at the meeting for us to move forward? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Michelle and Joe, can you just give us a quick update? And then Brendan, if you have anything for us on the site circulation, we'll go through it.
I think they've satisfied everything that I have
Okay.
requested.
Great.
I guess we're getting closer. We're still working out some of the stormwater details on the SWIP. We've talked to Mark's office about the water line, and I know there's been talk as well about an easement for the sidewalk. Maybe the sidewalk and the utility easement could be run and serve a dual purpose across the front.
sure.
So, other than that, we gave comments at the last meeting, and Mark's addressed some of that verbally, and we seem to be on the same page as far as how to address those, but we'll need to see those details for the final signature.
Okay. And then Brendan, you have traffic.
Just, as Mark said, they did receive an amendment to the highway work permit applications for the common driveway. They have submitted to us the anticipated site-generated traffic, which we've reviewed and concurred with. It's not going to be a significant generator of new traffic, mainly because they actually go out to retrieve their clients with a minivan. Internal circulation, we've reviewed their truck tracking diagrams for WB40 and for the fire apparatus. It's adequate for that. I think the last little comments that we had that we went over, Mark, were just a couple locations of some handicap ramps.
Correct, which we believe we've addressed, but.
Yeah, the one thing that did come up in our last meeting about the location of the ramp for the smaller building.
Yes.
I think it was indicated that the sidewalk couldn't be extended around the corner because of the offset to the property line.
Right.
And I think we've determined in the code that it is allowed.
That's an allowable, okay.
So,
Yeah, there was an amendment made to the code about what you can put in a buffer or
Oh, okay.
setbacks, and sidewalks are allowed.
Oh, I thought it was restricted to
Yeah.
vegetation, but we can put a sidewalk, so we can put a sidewalk,
just around the corner to the unloading
Right
area
here.
of the handicap.
so we'll
spots.
extend this sidewalk to around the corner to hit the loading area.
And then,
Okay.
then the people exiting those cars don't have to enter the parking lot at all.
Okay.
And then, Mark, the only other thing I'm seeing here is their fire advisory board had a few comments. Did you receive those comments
I
back?
have not seen those.
Okay. It looks like they're they want to confirm whether the building will still be used as a learning center, and if there'll be any outdoor rec areas or designated staging areas for fire alarms.
Not, the only outdoor recreation for the 879, as we mentioned, was going to be this courtyard.
Okay,
There's also a staging area here,
okay,
you know, that was always shown as 877.
okay.
So the answer would be, yes, it's still learning for 25% of the 879 and then 100% of 877.
Okay, and then they have a couple other comments here, and we'll give you a copy of this, but
Okay.
they're also saying, due to central water hookup, which I know isn't necessarily happening right now, they're asking if they're asking to have a sprinkler system provided, so,
Well, that's not easy to do because we're not going to know what the pressures are and we aren't going to know what the flow rates are. So it's impossible to design a sprinkler system for a source you have no idea what it is. I mean, we don't mind retrofitting, but the problem is you can't size any of the lines because you don't know what the outside pressure is going to be. So I doubt we're going to be able to do that, to be honest with you.
in either building, or,
Either building, because you need to know flow and you need to know pressure. We won't know either, because we don't know.
okay.
Yeah, we can discuss that further, because we might be able to work through some of those things.
Okay,
But
This
as
is
far
going
as
to
the
be,
code, I mean, given
this is a
the
2B
size-
construction.
Yeah, but they're not
So
providing
2B
60
construction,
access to
for this
fire.
use, we're allowed, I'm sorry, do you want to?
okay.
This is a 2B construction, meaning that it doesn't require a sprinkler for the size of the building we're proposing. We have enough egress exits, we have, we don't pass the, we don't exceed the longest length of discharge of the building for either floor. So this will not be required to be sprinkled. Not that we don't want to, it's just, I think it's going to be very difficult to size the lines for the, even for your, let's say we were going to sprinkler this room, you need to know the size of where the sprinkler heads were going to go, so you need to size each line going to each head. You can't do that without pressure.
Well, I don't think that's going to significantly change your plan, but because it's a comment from Fire Advisory Board, if I can just ask you, Scott, if you
Yeah,
don't
we'll
mind,
follow up with that.
you can follow up.
Okay.
If you guys
We're
have
getting
any
ready to do some
conversation.
modeling in the area, so it might work out that we can get you those answers.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions by the planning board before we open for public comment? Okay. Is there anyone here to speak for or against the Taconic Innovation Site Plan on Route 376? I would just have you come up and sign in at our clipboard, and then we'll call you up. Okay. All right. Joe, I think the SWIP, you said we should be able to still close the public hearing. You're not expecting any significant changes to the site plan, even though you're finishing some of the calculations. Scott, are you also comfortable with regard to the sprinklers? If we close the public hearing, we'll have that conversation?
Yeah, as long as we maintain, yes.
Okay. Is that,
Sure.
Okay.
We'd be happy to have it.
okay. And is there anything else that we need to cover before we close the public hearing? Okay. Unless anybody has any objection, do I have a motion to close the public hearing? for
Motion to
Taconic
close the public hearing.
I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So Mark, there's a couple things that we'll work with you on just to finalize. It won't affect your site plan, but we'll finalize the sprinkler and the SWIP.
Is there any way we can move to final tonight? I mean, we certainly would acquiesce.
We don't have a resolution prepared, so we'll put you on for decision at our next meeting.
Okay.
So, but your public hearing's closed. We'll finish up those last couple conversations. You'll be on for decision on the 2nd.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the Paylene site plan on Ryan Drive. And do I have a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved. Second?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tim Allen of Bivol Associates, a partner there, representing Paylene Construction. As Paul gets set up on the screen, as you know, we're proposing a proposed structure on Ryan Drive, a 3-acre piece of parcel. We were at this public hearing last month, I believe, and just got this up. Having heard from the public and the board and the consultants, we've made some changes to the plan. As you know, this property drains to a large wetland pond to the lower area of the property. That pond drains across Route 82. What we've done in the interim since our last meeting was to propose a storage area on the property in this lower area and to propose an infiltration area in this area, eliminating this building that was here previously. We've taken that building off the plan. Since that time, we received comments from the consultants. Apparently, we weren't on the same page in terms of what was expected of us. We still need to have a closed-door meeting in terms of wrapping up the technical aspects of the drainage on this property. That was the major issue in terms of the neighboring concerns. Also, we had talked about the fact that this is a Superfund site. The Superfund, my understanding of it is it's a groundwater issue. Basically, our only interaction with the groundwater is that we will be asking the Board of Health for a well, which we've already got, for extra casing on the well. And quite frankly, that's the applicant's concern, is that we obviously want to draw clean water. Other than that, there will be a discharge for drainage to the groundwater system, but that'll be clean water. That's what it's intended to do. That's its proposal. So in terms of any interaction with groundwater, I think we've resolved that. And in terms of the Superfund as an overall issue, it's a notification. And I think we resolved that at the last meeting, that basically we just have to let them know what we're doing, the final plan, and what it's going to be. The issue before us tonight, and also we discussed at the last meeting traffic. I think that's been resolved. Your consultant could speak to that, but nonetheless, I believe the traffic issue has been resolved. The turning radius has been corrected that we talked about at the last meeting. So our only issue now is to work out the final drainage with your consultant and your town engineer to the satisfaction of this board. Yes, sir.
With the addition of the pond, what are the remaining issues?
It's a detention issue. Paul, you want to flip to the overall plan. What we did, I know. Just go to the aerial, Paul. We are down in this area here. Culvert that discharges across 82 is in this area here. And the discharge from the property is right about here. There's a 300-acre tributary watershed that flows to that area. Our analysis was that of this 300 acres, this little 3-acre property, number one, it's not going to impact anything that goes through the pond and out of this property to the culvert. Number two, we would rather have this water leave the property quicker because it's part of the much closer to that culvert than the overall watershed. That's something we need to work out with the consultants in the town, because based on DEC code, it talks about detention, but quite frankly, in this case, we don't think detention is necessary, and it actually could hold back a storm where, Excuse me?
What?
What?
You mean hold back a
Sir,
school?
sir, I'm sorry,
What are you
we'll,
talking about?
excuse me, sir, we'll call for public comment shortly, but let's allow the applicant to finish his presentation, and then we'll absolutely get to public comment.
So, if you look at this overall basin, and you would take a travel time to this point, the issue is whether or not we hold back a storm or release it and have it run through a little quicker. That's something we've got to work out with the town, and it's basically the genesis of most of Joe's memo, which he'll go through. We've been to the ARB, they've approved our building, which is the main building now on the property.
Do you have the drawing of that with you? That's part of
You
our
have that,
public
Paul?
hearing, is the presentation of the ARB drawings.
Right. We have that, Paul? No, we presented that at the last meeting, it hasn't changed. It's the single-story building that we had presented at the last meeting. We'll certainly present that most likely one more time. So, going back to the site plan, we've addressed the comments that we've heard from the public. We've got a little more work to do, apparently. And obviously, its public hearing is still open, so we welcome any more comment, but nonetheless, we think we've addressed what we needed to and still have a little more work to do.
Okay, and my understanding, just, I want to make sure you know too, we need you to, when you submit revised drawings and things like that to us and revised plans, please try to get them in at least 15 days prior
Yes, we
to the
understand.
public hearing so that we have time for our professionals to issue letters and finish their comments. I think we were a little bit tight on time
Yes,
with this round.
correct.
Okay. Joe, do you want to give us a quick update? I know your letter's issued in draft, and you probably have some additional comments that'll come, but just bring us up to date on what you're seeing as far as the changes to the plan and the drainage.
Yeah, they evaluated the overall watershed, and that's similar to the way they were looking at it the first time. They made further changes to their plan, and but the analysis is showing that they haven't quite proven that the pond that the town owns on the adjoining property won't be affected by their development. They're kind of jumping over to the Route 82 culvert and looking at things in a broader perspective. And what we were asking for them to evaluate was what discharge actually comes to their site under different storm events, and how might that affect the pond that's out there. And yes, it's an allowed thing in the DEC regulations that they can evaluate these peaks, and not because they're a smaller sub-area of the watershed, they could release their water more rapidly. However, they need to follow the steps that the manual call for, and they seem to have taken a more practical approach to it. And so we're asking them for some more detail. I know the town, their Scott's office has run some preliminary numbers, and there seems to be some merit in what they're talking about, but it might also involve them bypassing their water from the town's drainage so that we don't kind of mix the two and get into some of the other issues with the groundwater surcharging and different things like that.
Okay.
And the letter, I did write a letter, and it was emailed out today. They have a copy of the SWIP memo, and there's various things in there. I mean, a lot of the comments they had, I'd say half the comments that we had before in the SWIP they've addressed, but the larger ones we're still working out the details on.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're probably thinking that because of the way this submittal was brought in a little bit late, and we've got these issues on the drainage, that we're not comfortable yet in closing on the public hearing for tonight.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Michelle, have you had a chance to?
I did. I looked at it. I reviewed it quickly. I guess the first thing I'd like to do is just have the applicant really quickly step through the changes in this plan, because I don't know that that's clear to everyone sitting in the audience, first of all, and also I'd just like to understand exactly what was changed
Okay.
And, because I know that this building got larger, and I just wouldn't mind.
So if you don't mind, just walk us through what the old plan, we know there was 2 buildings on the old plan. Has the new building, has the
Correct.
remaining building increased by the same size?
The building, as shown on this plan, is the same size, nothing's changed on that building. There was a smaller building, which I believe was 1,200 square feet roughly in this area here. That's been eliminated. Previously, we had a stormwater system in the central portion of the property. We're now proposing that as a basin and stormwater basin in this portion of the property. The actual property will still be maintained as access and an area where they can park their vehicles and basically the remainder of the property stays the same as previously proposed.
And is there going to be fencing now along the rear of the property where the building was before, or is it going to be open?
Are we doing fencing down there?
All the walls and the fencing stayed the same.
That all stayed the same. What we did do is, we had said we can plant on the neighboring property, which would screen this area, which is down in this area.
And you've spoken with the neighbor about that?
That's the town.
That's the town's property.
The town's
Oh, okay.
property,
I'm
yes.
sorry. The pond, I'm sorry. You said that.
I think the other thing is you added an area, paved area for if you're gonna be cleaning equipment or anything that's gonna be.
Correct.
Go through an oil-water
Yep,
separator. and-
exactly.
And then just for my clarification, I know, when we originally discussed these proposed changes, there was some question about whether or not there was gonna be, disturbance to the wetland buffer, and it looks like there is gonna be a little bit of disturbance to the wetland buffer?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So, they
We
had
filed for
advertised
the-
for a wetland permit, and just so you know, there will be a need for a town, wetland buffer disturbance.
And I'm sorry, Michelle, you said we have advertised for that? That's part of the
Yes.
current application?
Yes,
Okay.
that was when they re-advertised for this public hearing, they also advertised for they weren't 100% sure because they hadn't gone through with the plans yet, but we anticipated that they might, so they advertised for the need for a wetland permit.
Okay. All right. Brendan, you want to take us, I know you gave us some accident information.
Yeah, first off,
And
just
just
cover
walk us
the 2 issues that were from the previous meeting. The applicant has demonstrated that the site and the driveways are adequate to pass a WV 62 tractor trailer. And they did align the easterly driveway opposite a driveway on Ryan Drive. At the last meeting, someone from the public brought up the fact that they thought there was a safety issue or an accident issue at Ryan Drive in 82. My office obtained data from the East Fishkill Police Department and from the New York State DOT for the last 4 years, from January of 2009 to December of 2012. There was only 1 reported accident in the vicinity of Ryan Drive in 82. It was on 82. It was actually a truck that was carrying a piece of machinery. The machinery dropped off the truck, and the trailing car ran into that machinery. It wasn't someone turning off of Ryan Drive. There were 9 other accidents within a 1/10 of a mile of Ryan Drive. 2 approximately a 1/10 of a mile to the south, actually 3 a 1/10 of a mile to the south, 2 a 1/10 of a mile to the north, 3 at the intersection of Pierce Hour Road, and 1 at the intersection of Francis Drive. There were, so a total of 9 accidents. 7 of them were just property damage. 2 of them did have injuries. Of the 9 accidents, 6 of them actually involved the striking of an animal or a deer.
So single
So-
single car striking an
Single
animal,
car,
not, okay.
Single car accidents with an animal or a deer. So in conclusion, we didn't identify any significant accident history at the intersection of Ryan Drive or 80.
Okay, thank you. And the relocation of that driveway on Ryan Drive, that's now directly across from one of the others. Did we have to move a utility pole for that, or
No, they
was?
actually moved it to the next driveway down on Ryan
Okay.
Drive, so I think they've avoided the utility pole.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Any other questions from board members before we open up for public comment? Okay. Is there anyone here to speak for or against the Paling site plan? What I'd like to have you do is come on up and sign in on our clipboard, and we'll call you up in order. If you're the first person to sign up, you can come right on up to the podium.
Hi,
Hi.
Brian and Peggy Kozlowski. If I compare our first notice to the last notice that we received, our first notice is 8,000 square foot building, 4,000 square foot building, and now 10,000. Is that what the building is going to be, or different numbers?
Michelle, do you have the
Yeah,
square footage of the
The
building?
new building is proposed to be 10,000 square feet on the new set of plans. And there's no, 4,000
And there's no
square-
building to the rear of the property?
Yeah.
Okay.
4,000 square foot building.
So the 10,000 is going where the 8,000 was?
Looks like they're actually increasing.
I apologize, the building is slightly bigger than the original, but the main building is bigger than the previous.
Okay.
So it's 10,000?
Yes, it's 10,000 square feet, and there's no building to the rear.
Okay, and they had pictures, drawings of the buildings last time?
Yes. This public hearing will be adjourned again. We'll make sure those pictures return for the next meeting, but per the applicant and for the ARB, those drawings have not changed since you saw them last time.
Okay, and we were
We
wondering
removed,
why,
obviously, the drawing for the second building because it's not going to exist.
right. Why it was changed, we were wondering?
Why the applicant changed the plan?
Yes.
In part, it was to address comments from the public. There was some drainage issues and some concern with the layout of the site. So they've come back to us with this proposal to address those concerns.
So the thinking is that one large building is better than the two smaller buildings?
It changed the way they were able to do their drainage on
drainage.
site and keep more of the drainage on site.
I think it also
wouldn't
went from
speak to whether or not it's
14,000 square
better.
feet to 12,000 square feet, right, the
Yes.
total?
I thought 10.
14 to 10? Okay, 14 to 10, okay.
I'd like to know what they are applying as. It seems to have changed.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
The first notice was their contractor material and equipment supply storage yard. This time it's building material supply yard and outdoor equipment supply storage yard.
Okay. Michelle, I believe that there was a question as to what permitted uses were in this zone, and is this clarifying the permitted uses?
Yeah, and I think, actually, when we reviewed the code, it was a contractor's yard is allowed in this location as well.
Okay.
So, but I mean, virtually, it ultimately ends up being the same type of use. It's outdoor storage and it's a contractor's yard, building material supply yard. So they're selling building material supplies.
Because in the,
And you just make sure that I'm stating this correctly as what you're proposing. They're selling, they're going to be storing some outdoor equipment.
mhm.
And they're going to be, I guess, the outdoor storage, there's going to be piles or stockpiles of material, contractors' materials.
Mhm.
Soil, what else? Wood chips, and that sort of thing.
Okay, because in the beginning, I thought it was a contractor's yard, and then I was told it wasn't. So it is a contractor's yard?
I think we clarified that the code is virtually the same thing for the building material.
Okay. All right, so they only need to
Yeah, 'cause
follow
there
the,
was an inconsistency in the code that we were
Yes.
trying to clarify last time,
Mhm.
and I think we clarified that it's actually virtually the same.
okay, so they are going to have to follow the contractor yard specs?
No, because that's only for contractors' yards. This is I-3, right? Or I-1? I-2. It's only an I-1 and I-3 that special permit applies to, I-1
Okay.
and I-3. This is
Okay.
I-2, which is the heaviest industrial use.
This is storage. This only allows storage of the materials, doesn't allow grinding or
Yes, it doesn't allow
chopping or
processing.
any of that. That's the heavier one and the other special
Okay,
permit
I
one.
guess like every meeting I come here and I try to get,
I understand.
what are the specs of
Well, the
what
last
they're
time there was an
doing?
issue about it, and I think the last time,
Right.
the confusion was the first advertisement is for a special permit that's
Mhm.
allowed in the heavy industrial districts. And based on the presentation at the public meeting, it was proven that it really fits into the other use, which does not allow the crushing of materials, things like that outside.
Such as asphalt?
Right.
So
You
they will
can't
not
crush
be
it.
recycling the asphalt?
No, there's no recycling, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay, septic. Have the plans been submitted regarding their septic system?
The stormwater and the
The
treatment.
process excuse me, process would be is that they would get approval here, subject to Board of Health approval of the septic system. So that approval is given by the Dutchess County Department of Health.
Has it gotten your approval yet?
I don't,
They've actually, we're just waiting on this. Once we're set here, then it's going to go back.
the applicant's free to do that at any time, but they can't get a final sign
The
off
health
of that.
department will approve that.
But I thought I just heard that we approve, well, you approve the plans for the septic first and then it goes to the.
No, for the site plan.
Okay.
The septic is solely approved by the
Okay.
Department of Health.
So do we know what the status is of the septic being approved?
I think he just said that have you
You
applied,
approved?
or?
Oh, yeah, we're just waiting on this, and then, yeah, they already went through the Department of Health, they already reviewed it, we're in agreement with everything well in the septic right now, we're just, like you said,
Does-
waiting on approval by them, and they'll.
Do those plans get submitted to you then, the
They go to the
septic?
Department of Health, there'll be a full submission to the Department of Health,
So they do not get submitted to you?
not to the town. What happens is, there's a form that comes back from the Department of Health showing that a certain design plan has been approved.
Okay.
And then a certification is made to the Department of Health that it was built that way.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking is because of the wetlands and the septic. I was just curious as to where the fields are, where the septic's going in relation. I thought the,
It is marked on the plan.
By 82.
okay. All right, what else did we have? We were wondering if the planning board has walked the property, seen the property? Has anybody been on the property to see what they're doing?
I've driven by it.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it, but I haven't actually walked on the
Nobody's
property.
actually like gone to that far corner where it dips down near the pond. I think that's where they're looking for the disturbance to the wetlands.
Mhm.
We would just like to suggest that maybe you might want to look at it, see how it dips, see how close it is, especially now, the pond is huge. There's a lot of water in it, and that's without maybe a proposed building in Phillips Farm. I think they're going to drain into that pond.
Okay.
So we just thought that that might be something that you might want to do. I think that's all I have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your next name? Mark? Mark?
Gentleman left.
Does somebody recognize that gentleman? If we could just see if he, I don't know if he stepped out into the lobby or if he's coming back. No? Yes. George? Kathy, if you could make a note, we'll call one more time for the gentleman that wasn't here.
Good evening, George Collins. I live at 10 Hemlock Drive. I'd like to go over my opposition to this. I spent the past 30 years in construction. Past 5 years, I was the ironwork performer at the Freedom Tower, and I had access to a yard in Jersey City where we had a staging area, which was for the construction company I worked for, and it was in a completely desolate area, if you want to call it that, where there was no problem with drinking water. If anything, it was public drinking water through sewer systems and pipes, which we're not dealing with here. We're dealing with homeowners who depend on clean drinking water, and we know what's going on with that site in the past. We don't have to go into that. It's a Superfund site, and I feel that we're just repacking the bomb and gonna light the fuse again here. I said, because I know what goes on firsthand in construction yards. I see it. The personnel, I don't know what kind of personnel are gonna be on the job, but they probably aren't gonna come from the area. And when you don't come from an area, you really don't seem to care about the area. Because I had a lot of arguments when I ran the construction, when I was over there in the yard, about keeping it clean, working on machinery. And I don't care what kind of abatement processes you have in place or safety procedures, there's gonna be spills. And is anybody gonna call somebody about it? I don't know. I doubt it. You know, it's human nature, let's cover it up. I would hope that's not in their process, in their company's plans. But we just got inundated with all kinds of water system through the neighborhood that we got. Now we have this. I feel that our neighborhood is being the dumping ground here, and it's not right. You mentioned truck traffic. Are these over-the-road tractor trailers coming in here with sleeper cabs that are going to be bringing material in? Are they staying overnight? There's safety issues with children. I have 5 myself. There's a number of people on the block that have a lot of kids. What kind of access kids get into things? Is that going to be locked up? Materials that I see on construction is hazardous to your health. We try the best we can in my industry, my end of it as an iron worker, to keep it under control, but you know, I know what goes on firsthand, and I oppose it, and I would hope that the planning board opposes it, because I think they could be finding another place for this in a different zone somewhere than right next to homeowners, like I said earlier, that depend on ground drinking water, okay? And they're gonna drill the well. Who's to say that they drill the well and the aquifer changes and all of a sudden wells start drying up? Where are we gonna get our water from? Up the street from Little Switzerland? They've already said they ain't gonna let us hook up. So, you know, I have a big problem with this. And those are my concerns, and I would hope that the planning board has some of the similar concerns with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next name? Brian?
Good evening. Brian Gormanley, 110 Oak Ridge Road. Just a couple of quick questions, hopefully. One is a real clarification. It was kind of touched on earlier, but last meeting I seem to remember a lot of talk about asphalt and pavers and trucks. So I think I understood from the discussion earlier that that's just not the case anymore. There's not going to be asphalt trucks, or?
No, there's going to be paving equipment that's going to be parked, correct?
And it's going to be clean there, right?
No, it's not going to be clean, it's going to be parked.
So it's going to be clean before it reaches the site? Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that, because I keep hearing construction yard. As I mentioned before, it does seem from a homeowner's perspective living in the area that the use is kind of like a moving target. It's very hard to understand. So there any other large equipment that's going to be there besides the pavers?
Yeah, those are the excavators, trucks.
Just basically anything goes, construction equipment, okay.
I'm sorry, you're saying that the equipment is not going to be cleaned on site?
No, yes, the asphalt pavers are going to be cleaned on site. Usually the way the asphalt paver works is once you're done paving on the street, it gets cleaned, because asphalt gets hard. It gets hard in the machine, you have disaster on your hands, so. The machine's
Okay.
cleaned out, that's why he's wondering if the asphalt product's being cleaned or it's not.
Okay, so you were referring to the asphalt itself, not,
That was my major concern,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
absolutely. I was actually reading online about, I'm a layman when it comes to this, but I was actually reading about cleaning the asphalt machines, and it's incredibly important that they do it early, I understand that. So as long as they're coming in clean, that would be okay on that, but I still don't, you know, I'm not liking it. I'd be very angry if I saw them cleaning the asphalt trucks. I guess that's my point. The other thing is, just earlier when they were up here, they mentioned that, I believe they said groundwater was the only issue when it came to the EPA Superfund site. I would just want to point out that from my research on the Superfund site, surface water is also contaminated. And that's for the I'm not a scientist, yeah, that one. Not the tetracycline or the arsenic, the other one, the one that starts with tri. So I just want to point that out because surface water moves a lot there. Another concern is there was talk about the water, and I lost my notes on what that was called. But I believe when the Route 82 culvert, not an expert again, but I think they're referring to, there's like a swampy area on Route 82. If you're heading north, it would be on the left-hand side, not quite across the street from this site. It's a little south of it, if you're calling 82 north. That is actually right in front of my in-laws' house. They're 1325 Route 82, and that's a very long driveway that goes behind that swampy area. Their driveway currently gets washed over by that when there's heavy rain. So any additional water to that would be devastating. There's currently a pipe that goes under their driveway, but apparently it's not wide enough to deal with the flow right now. It only happens during the big storms, but the water does crest clean over their driveway. And that really is my major concern. So it's also my understanding that this is going to be adjourned for another day.
It is.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Which driveway? I'm sorry, was that again that it goes over?
1325 Route 82.
Okay.
Scott, you'll be able to take a look at that? if we
Yeah,
need to.
yeah.
Thank you. Kim? Mark, do we have a Mark? Okay. Okay. We'll just check one more time out in the lobby. While we're doing that, if you don't mind, come on back up to the podium for us. Let's just get a couple of these questions answered. Can you clarify for us exactly what type of materials will be stored on site, whether they're raw materials, whether they'll be things that you're bringing back with you from other jobs? Just let us know what will be stored on site. What do you anticipate?
Paul, you want to address that real quick?
Yeah, I gave you that list, I think it was a couple of meetings
If you don't mind
back.
just going.
Yeah, I
through
mean, I don't
it.
remember everything on there, but, you know, it used to be stuff like, you know, maybe some pipe, plastic pipe, it could be, you know, some granite, you know, cobblestone, it could be decorative stone, slate inside the building. You have some stuff that, you know, can't get, it's cement bags that can't get wet. You know, other contractors supply things, maybe like silt fence, orange fence.
But nothing that you're recycling,
No,
nothing that's
nothing.
coming from another job or something like that? It's all
No.
clean materials that are coming
Yes.
to move to a job?
Correct, or people can come in off the street and buy products.
Okay. Okay. And with the equipment storage, I just want to make sure that we're very clear, you're not cleaning the pavers
Yeah, I
on
mean.
site, but you would expect that you'd be able to clean trucks
I
or
just-
other equipment or
Well, yeah, I don't
machinery.
understand what you guys, when you say cleaning pavers, I mean, I don't know what, I think what he's meaning is if it has blacktop in it that you put on the street, that doesn't come in with the paver when it comes in off a job. That, the blacktop and the asphalt, whatever road you're paving, the paver gets cleaned out prior. I think that's what you're asking. As for, you know, washing down a truck or, you know, soap and water washing a machine or a truck, yeah, we might wash a truck down or pressure wash it down. But as for asphalt coming in, cleaning it that way, no, that doesn't happen. That can't happen.
How about any other hazardous materials?
No, no
or
hazardous
anything?
materials
I know
at
you
all.
had initially said there was probably going to be a diesel, above-ground diesel tank there to fill the
Yeah,
trucks. Is that,
for-
we're still
yes.
anticipating that? Have you
That-
moved
that
that
would-
to the other
well,
building?
yeah, it'll be in the one building that's there now, in the garage.
And I know you said that your ARB approval hasn't changed, but with the change of the sizing of the building, has that affected the shape? Have you just increased the shape and it's
Yeah,
the exact same
it's
building?
the same
or-
exact building, they just added on another so many feet to give it the extra 2,000 square
But
feet.
same siding, same type of finish,
Same exact everything.
Okay, let's just make sure that whatever drawings you have, just make
Yeah,
sure you
I'll
have
bring
them
it,
with you
that
for
was
the next
my
time.
fault, I'll bring that next time.
Okay. It sounds like we may have, Scott's gonna look into the water that's coming over the driveway from the existing culvert.
Mhm.
That just makes it a little bit even more urgent that we make sure we don't have water coming from this site and exacerbating that situation. So we want to make sure we have everything. Joe, I know you're halfway through that analysis, but I want to make sure we have everything we need for that. And then I guess the other thing we heard is, as far as security goes, you had mentioned that you will not have fencing on the back side of the property, but you are going to be storing heavy equipment and some materials there. How will you be securing the site?
Well, you have the equipment right there is where you see where that blacktop area is where the trees are added. That's going to be all where that whole wall with the fence on top that we've seen. And then in the front, you're going to have the same thing all the way around to the back. And then you're going to have gates at every entrance.
Okay.
And then, you're lined with trees on the Route 82 side there.
Is there anything as far as being able to access that equipment or anything like that you have a concern about, or do you feel like gates across the drives are sufficient?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
that's sufficient.
I don't want to have kids climbing around.
No, I mean, also, they're also trespassing too, so, I mean, that's.
Understood. I guess I just don't want to have an invitation there.
No, but
for it.
it
All right.
should be fine.
Michelle, as far as lighting goes, I know the original lighting, there was going to be lighting on the back building and lighting on the front building. Do we have a revised lighting plan?
I haven't looked at the lighting yet.
Okay.
No, everything's the same.
Okay. So the lighting that was going to be mounted on the building in the rear
Is the same
going-
exact, yeah. From the
Well, the
previous.
building isn't there anymore, so I'm trying to figure out, what are you doing for lighting in the rear of the property? Or are you
There's
not
no
gonna-
buildings, there's no lighting, there's no lighting.
No
It's just the lighting that's on the building in the front stays the same, and the 3 light posts that were originally there. The building in the back had lighting on it, the lighting's gone, the building's gone, everything's gone.
Okay. Let's just make sure that that's, okay, when you check the lighting plan. Thank you, Michelle. Again, I'm just thinking of, if there's security lighting or something that would light up if somebody is trespassing or something like that, so we have a feel for it. Okay, your hours of operation haven't changed with the removal of the building, everything's still the same as far as that
Correct,
goes?
correct.
And still very clear, we're not processing any materials on site?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Did the gentleman come back? Okay. Okay, well, that's too bad. Any final questions or comments from board members before we determine an adjournment date? Okay. You have another question? You can come on back up.
Most of us are on Hemlock, which
Okay.
is over here. Is there a way to get a visual of what we're going to be looking at? I hear a fence on top of a fence, and I can't visualize that.
Okay. Would you be able to give us a rendering? Thank you. Bear with us. If this answers your question, great. If it doesn't, we'll make sure we have something for next time.
Does that represent the actual fence?
Yeah, right. This fence right here is just your vinyl, the regular vinyl, which goes right here, that's without, that's just right, this piece right here. And then the other detail, you don't see, these blocks right here actually have a decorative face on it. It looks like actual like stone. And then you have the 4-foot, same style, white vinyl fence, decorative, that will be on top of this. And that's what you see right here.
Decorative and not stained.
Is that a retaining wall, or is it like, how high is it?
That's 4 foot with the 4 foot on top, so it'll be total
Same
8,
foot.
yes.
So we'll be looking at a concrete
Yeah, and that's
wall
the
with
color
fence on top.
Like
We'll be looking at the concrete wall with fence on top.
Well, it's decorative, it'll look like, it looks like it's a stone. And that's the inside too, where, the removable bins are, that's all part of that, the inside of it, you're gonna see that.
Okay, if you can maybe bring us something that would give us a better feel for what that will look like with the decorative surface or something for next time. Maybe just as a view looking towards, from the outside?
3 to 4.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Joe, Michelle, Brendan, anything else from? Okay.
We also noted they submitted soil testing results with the package. And our comment talks about they sampled it for more like a gasoline type of a spill or a petroleum spill. And the EPA's got other compounds that are part of this contaminant plume that we thought should also be tested, the trichloroethane and trichloroethane.
Okay.
That, you know, we just that was just information we did for ourselves. It wasn't required that we do those tests. That was just information for our own personal use that I just shared with you guys, so.
Okay.
And they did require, that's the whole VOC section, which has the toluene in it and all that, which has to do with paint thinners and that kind of stuff, which was part of the package that we got from the EPA saying that's what was part of the contaminants. That's why they did the VOCs. You know, it does have stuff that is in gasoline like MTBEs, but there's also other volatiles too that are, and stuff like paint thinners and cleaning agents and stuff like that, and that's part of the VOCs, which was there.
Are they asking for like a vapor barrier and a sub-slab depressurization under the building or anything?
Well, we don't, ours is slab on grade, so we have nothing going any further down than, you know, just the footings, and, you know, we'll test that, like I said last time, at the time, to see if there's no vapors there, then it's not needed, but for all means, if we do find something, then, you know, we'll take whatever remediation we have to.
You know, my notes are full of comments about the EPA reviewing the SWIP. I mean, what role does the EPA play in the SWIP review? Any?
Well, the town has some experience, I guess, with the Melly Pond, in that they wanted some information and had requested, at one point, they requested like a groundwater model around the pond to show how the water table might go up and down with this different storms and different inflow and outflow of the pond. So we thought with this project coming in, they might have similar questions. You know, the drainage contributes more to the pond and might influence the water table in that area.
Okay.
Also, I guess where the infiltration basin is located, it's shown in that area near the wetland and in an area where there were some hydric soils found. So we were a little skeptical that it was actually going to perk as well as some of the other places where you did do your soil testing. So you can look at that.
And Joe, is that in part where one gentleman was speaking about surface contamination as opposed to the groundwater contamination? Is that something we would review or test on this site? I don't, just give me a feel for what that would mean for us.
Probably what that report is talking about is groundwater would, you know, when it comes out, expresses as a surface water flow.
Okay.
Because the groundwater is contaminated, whatever surface water comes from a spring or something would also have that. I don't see that being the case here. It's more the, you know, they do have a number of things, the oil water separator, the hydrodynamic separator, that's meant to bring out any new contamination and clean up the surface water, so.
Okay. And the separator, is that actually a mechanical device, or is that a flotation type thing where contaminants float on the surface? How does that?
It does different things within the, it causes, you know, as the flow goes into the chamber, it swirls and drops sediment down, and other things can float up and be skimmed off the top, so it achieves a bunch of different.
So it's something that requires maintenance, because you'd have to
Yes.
clean it periodically?
Right.
And you're, okay. Is that something that Tom
That's
is?
provided for in our stormwater maintenance agreement. There's an
Okay, that
obligation
was
of
gonna
the
be my
property
next
owner to
question.
maintain it. Their failure to do so allows us to have someone do it and charge it back against the property if there's any issue on it.
Okay, so whatever system we accept, the town has an agreement with the applicant that we would be
Correct.
able to
It's
go
a
in and.
recorded document that runs with the land, so whoever owns the
Okay.
land would have that obligation.
Okay, thank you. If you can maybe, when you come back, I know that you're still working a little bit on that part of it, but when you come back, if you can just walk us through, here's how we're treating the water and here's what that what that looks like for us. I think that would help.
Sure.
You're hearing a lot of concern from the public regarding this contamination and not contributing to it or exacerbating it. So I think if you can just walk us through that piece of it, once it's fully designed, hopefully before we're back again. Okay. I know you are working a little on the pond. You have some other things that you're working on. How much time do we need before we bring you back again? So that you have time to meet with our town consultants?
Well, you ended up, what, April 2nd is the next, after that one?
Yeah, we won't be able to have you on
that's all right.
April
No, it's
2nd.
too soon anyway. What's the next April?
16.
The 16th has montage on it, which is going to be a long meeting. So probably the best meeting for us for the next meeting is May 7th right now, if that's acceptable.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn, excuse me, the Paline site plan public hearing to May 7th?
So moved.
Can I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so folks from the public, you won't receive another public notice, but May 7th will be the next time this is on our agenda. Okay. And I thank everybody again for coming out and sharing comments with us. We do appreciate that. Okay, the next item on our agenda, thank you guys. The next item on our agenda is Springbrook Meadows, 9-lot subdivision on Townsend Road.
I'm pretty sure the next time we see Pauline.
Do you want us to put that on the?
Yes, you're in public hearing, so thank you, Mark.
I really hope the next time you see Pauline, it's not snow.
Is that what happened? What's happening?
That's right.
Absolutely nothing has changed on this plan.
I had a feeling you were going to say that, Mark.
We, as you know, I wrote a letter.
You're working with FEMA?
Email.
And I'm just gonna have, I'm sorry, come over to the mic for us so we can capture your
We
comments.
actually met with, over the phone, with FEMA. They are actually, we filed a LOMA, a letter of map amendment. What they're going to do is visit the study that they did. What they obviously did, what we talked about a while ago, was they did a very broad brush approach. They have invited us to submit the topography that we've done to be able to determine if there are areas of this property that are outside the floodplain. In verbal discussions about it, they realized that we probably do have a lot, and they're going to then revise their map. We then would submit to them a meets and bounds of the area that would be coming out of the FEMA map. And this could take a couple months, though.
Okay.
But the application has been filed.
Okay.
So-
Do you prefer to adjourn to a date uncertain and renotice?
If
or-
I,
Or do you prefer us to adjourn you to a date certain and knowing we may need to reopen and adjourn you one more time?
I'd actually, if we could, the application's in, is there any way we could go to the, let's say, the second meeting in May?
Second meeting
Or the
in May
first
is
meeting in
May-
June? Let's say that first,
First meeting in June
Yeah,
is
let's do
June
that.
4th.
please, if that's okay.
You think you'll have information back by
We
then?
should have an answer.
Okay. Before we adjourn, Brendan, anything different here? Anything we need to talk about? Okay. Michelle?
Yeah, just, I know that last we spoke, we were sort of waiting on the DEC.
Correct.
And I know there's, if anything changes to the plan, that might also affect the DEC. But if you could just prod them along and just find out.
Prod them along. Oh, I'd like.
If you talk to someone there, let me know who you're speaking with, and I can make a call as well.
Is that next? Miss Swentusky.
She any more help?
Yes.
Okay. And Joe, anything else we should?
Yeah, I guess, Mark, when you're providing them the topo, you're probably doing the 1929 vertical datum, and are they asking for this to be like in a control or some more of a hard topo, field topo, rather than like an aerial?
No, they're actually asking for this, which is actually an aerial This is NAVD 88.
They want it in that-
Are you
that
able to
top
verify, have you verified these elevations?
The surveyor has. There's, it's Don Miller. Originally Dick Barger, now Don Miller, so, you know.
So the elevations have been certified?
These
that
are
they-
actually aerial photography, so I'm gonna defer to the surveyor of record. They're aware of what we're doing. But I think we're good because there was a few points that they brought up and they verified over the phone, the elevations with the surveyor, so, you know, like I said, I'm gonna defer to that.
Well, with an aerial, it could be off a couple of feet, so depending on what time of year the aerial was done.
So can a hand topo.
Yeah,
You're
well-
always off 2 feet. You're either plus a foot or minus a foot. You're always gonna be 2 foot off, but it's,
I think given the critical nature, it's important to be not off, but to be accurate.
but my point is, an aerial could be 2 feet off, a hand can be 2 feet off. You may as well go with an aerial because you're gonna get more definition. It's more accurate than a hand topo.
I wouldn't agree with that, no, not if it's done properly.
Well, I've done it for a few weeks now, and I guarantee you aerial is a lot more accurate than a hand topo. Only because when you're doing a hand topo, if you're running a baseline from here to here to here, you're turning so many angles, your degree of error is adding up. In aerial, there's no turning of angles, it's strictly photogrammetric.
No, but depending on the leaf cover, the vegetation, I mean, it can vary substantially.
But this is all done without leaf cover. These flights were done.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't build a bridge off an aerial topo. You would go do a hard survey. So
We would
in
agree
fact,
we're not building a bridge, though,
But
right?
you're building houses potentially in a floodplain, so I think it's just as critical.
Yeah, but I mean, this area is the area that we would actually ask to be removed, and it's not 2 feet, it's upwards of 10 to 12 feet, so.
Okay.
All I'm saying, Scott, I understand, but 2 feet is whether you go aerial or whether you go hand. So I don't feel you're gonna get more accurate.
Scott, are we asking for a couple of shot hand calculated?
Well, it'd be nice to verify
Heights here,
the
or-
topography. You know, I'm not
Okay.
saying you have to topo the whole piece, but if you could pick a couple of points and just verify it, and then you
So
know.
there's some monuments in the road
They
that
did
tie
topography
into.
survey, they did photo control, so
Right.
they have some hard shots there
Right.
somewhere.
What happens is when they do an aerial, I'm not sure, and I don't wanna take everybody to the survey.
Well, wait,
But I can touch on this. You put points on the road, the plane picks it up. They pick up those points. Those points are known. They're known in elevation, they're known in coordinates. Those coordinates are used and they're overlaid on the photos. That's where it comes from. So there are known points that were identified when the photos were taken,
and when were the photos taken?
On the road.
on the roads.
So they would be easy enough to swing over that without having to turn maybe all those
But swing over to what, though, is my question.
foundations. Yeah, pick first floor you know, just pick some reference topography on the site that.
Well, let me do this, because we're getting way off. Let's get the map in so that they can at least take a broad brush approach as to what's coming out. And then then if you want, we can run them in and verify where those final elevations will be. But right now, as you guys know, the floodplain moved from here to over here. So,
But Mark, you understand what we're saying. We want to be sure that we're not going to have buildings that either you come back and suddenly you need to put in 4 feet of fill to get above.
and I do
So-
too. So, but my point is, I have to get this to them so they can
Okay.
start looking at
That's
this,
fine.
which we've already filed.
Okay.
So,
So
I
just
do-
know when it comes back then,
Sure.
I think to Scott's point, we want to make sure that we're comfortable
Okay.
with the elevations.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone here from the public to speak for or against the Springbrook Meadows 9-lot subdivision?
John's in support.
Okay. Okay.
He's fully in support.
You just blew a golden opportunity, you know that.
Joe or Michelle, anything else we should go over?
No, I mean, this issue with the floodplain kind of took over. We did have some stormwater comments, I think are still, but until we resolve the floodplain issue, I think.
Okay. You probably need to resolve your floodplain issue before you can finish that, Mark?
That's paramount. I don't think he can go any further until I get resolved.
Okay, fair enough. But just know, we're giving you the heads up that there may be other things we're
Oh,
following.
no, we didn't doubt that.
Okay, all right, very good. You said June 4th is our first meeting in June?
If that's okay.
It's open right now, it's okay with me. Do I have a motion from
So
the
moved.
board to adjourn to the 4th? I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right, Mark, thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is an adjourned public hearing for Hopewell Gas Station.
Want the big map?
Yes, please. Okay, and do I have a motion to reopen the public hearing for Hopewell Gas Station?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
So the state said no again.
Yes, they did.
Too bad.
I
Are
would
we
say
gonna
so.
let me just pull the board if I could. I mean, are we gonna let that sit? I mean, do we have?
I don't know that we
Any
have a
room?
choice. We don't control the state roads and
understand
access
that,
onto
but-
them.
Apparently it's not coming up.
Pardon?
Apparently it's not coming up.
Oh. Okay.
You know, Brian, this building looks very square now.
Very bland.
Yeah.
I have a reduced copy of the
Okay.
architectural renderings, but obviously Brendan's gotten back to you guys about the DOT concerns, and it appears that they are sticking with the existing entrances.
Yeah, Brenda, do you want to just give us a quick update on that? Because at our last public hearing, you'd gone back and you were going to try to meet with, or sorry, at our last discussion, you were going to try to meet with them.
We did meet with Lance McMillan, who is the maintenance resident engineer for this area of East Fishkill, and we also met with Rich Dillman, who is one of the managers in the traffic safety division of the Poughkeepsie office. And they both expressed significant reservation in adding a new access on 376. The letter that they sent in to the town and to the applicant basically indicated that their foremost consideration was, because they wanted to limit potential conflicts approaching the intersection of 82. They also brought up at our meeting another significant issue on their end, which was that the access into the station traversed the front of the bank property, and it wasn't within the property line boundary of the station. And if it was to shift closer to 82, it would probably not achieve the same objective that we were hoping for. They indicated that the bank access, and then just the proximity to the intersection. They also indicated that the station has been there for 40 years and it has operated. They have seen the plan where the building is being proposed to be further set back, which they believe will help or assist the internal circulation. So they just they didn't see the need to put another access onto 376. The way the plan still is, though, there is going to be an additional restriction for the west entrance, where right now it's a full access entrance, and it's currently being proposed that it's going to be right turns in and right turns out. The control of that is going to be a painted, flush raised island in the middle of that entrance.
Okay.
They did also indicate that since there is a significant amount of DOT right-of-way in that area, if some more right-of-way was needed to further improve the internal access or to add landscaping, that could be done under a use and occupancy permit from the DOT, that they're open to that. My office did look to see if there was any benefit to increasing the internal size for access of a tractor trailer. It doesn't really provide any benefit to make the area bigger in that particular area of the corner of 82 and 376. I did indicate to Brian that if there's not knowing the exact location of the tanks and where a truck would sit to unload its fuel into those tanks. If some additional area was needed for that, that might be something Brian can evaluate. But certainly, I think the landscaping. Looking at the plan a little bit closer too, there is actually some of the existing pavement right now does spill over the highway boundary, the DOT highway boundary, which is, if there isn't already a use and occupancy permit, there's going to be required that they're going to need to get one for that.
Okay.
And with that, we obviously include some of Michelle's concerns with additional landscaping in that area too. So whether we have the permit or not, we will be getting that permit.
Okay. And you're amenable to improving the landscaping in that
Correct.
corner? Thank you.
And obviously, there, the only, thing, consideration of making sure no sight distance gets impaired at the intersection.
Right.
Okay. All right, Michelle?
Yeah, and that was basically my biggest issue, was just that we, that the applicant request permission from DOT to allow that additional landscaping if possible, and it seems like it can happen, so that's great.
Joe?
Yeah, since they're basically staying with the plan they have now, and moving the building back, we didn't really have any other comments. So I think we're all, things that we had in our last letter are all the comments that remain.
Now, you're before the ZBA for your...
For our variances, correct. We just
variances.
received ARB approval late last week.
We have
so-
your hearing, okay.
And the ZBA can't act until there's a neg deck.
Right, and I have a neg deck here. Tom, do we need to close this public hearing? Because I know we don't have the landscaping plan, but do we close this public hearing to offer the neg deck, or do we leave our public hearing open?
Well, what would be the reason to keep it open, just for the modifications to the,
Because we're going to be making, we know we're going to be making some changes to the landscaping.
I don't think that would be
In the event that
significant
the
enough.
ZBA doesn't approve the variance, they would have to start again?
Yeah, I mean, that would be a significant, yeah. I don't think there is going to be a problem with the variance. but-
Okay, well, but I'm just, what I'm asking is, we have I have a neg deck tonight that we could offer if we close the public hearing, but,
I believe we discussed 5 feet. 5 to 7 feet was what we discussed. Whatever we discussed was on
I'm
there.
sorry, Scott, I missed what you asked.
I wanted to verify the offset to the sewer. So we'll take care of that.
Okay.
I don't think, I think whatever little change it might be is so modest that there's no need to continue the public hearing unless
Okay.
the board thinks
Right,
otherwise.
but I'm confirming that we'll close the public
Public
hearing, we'll
hearing.
offer the neg deck, but in the event that something happens and we don't have a ZBA approval, you're gonna have to come back and we're starting with different,
Mhm.
okay. All right.
Has there been, has there been any thought to maybe modifying the gasoline station sign to, now that you have all that land there, that maybe he would consider a different kind of
Wow.
signage to clean up that
Wow.
corner?
Is that lemons at a lemonade, Tom? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, we can always run it by him.
Okay. I just thought it would help clean up the corner.
Nice. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do you bill for the sarcasm, or is
Any-
it just part of the base services?
Any other questions or comments from board members before we open up to public comment? Okay. Do we have anyone from the public who would like to speak for or against the Hopewell Gas Station on Route 82 and 376? Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and then I have a negative declaration here, dated March 19th, 2013. The name of our action is the amended site plan for the Hopewell Filling Station. This was an unlisted action under seeker, and we reviewed a full EAF in preparation for our review. During our seeker review, we found 3 environmental issues identified as relevant: stormwater runoff, traffic and circulation, and site remediation. The first, stormwater runoff, the proposed parking lot and yard revisions are de minimis easy for anyone else but me to say, apparently.
Can you say
And
that
do-
3 times
De
very
minimis,
quickly?
de minimis, de minimis. And do not significantly change impervious cover or quantity of stormwater runoff from the site. And I think we're pretty comfortable with that. Right now, the site is primarily covered with pavement. The second item is traffic and circulation. The proposed improvements to the site would not be expected to result in a significant change, unfortunately, in traffic compared to the prior site use, since traffic at this site is largely generated by the number of fuel pumps at the site, and the number of fuel pumps is proposed to remain the same. Although we did try to make some changes to the site circulation with an additional access that was not able to be done based on the access roads and the DOT control. The third item we found was site remediation, and in terms of the site undergoing remediation under the New York State DEC spill cleanup program, the applicant proposes to amend the current site plan in part due to other physical changes to the site that were necessitated by the cleanup, namely the removal of the existing building and the removal of the underlying contaminated soil. And this is kind of an ongoing cleanup. I know you've already cleaned up the issues with the tanks and all of that, so this is going to be the second part of that as they move this building. Do I have a motion to accept the negative declaration?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we'll sign the neg deck tonight. Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda was a discussion item for Parkview. It's a 3-lot subdivision on Oak Ridge Road. We did receive earlier, I think it was earlier today, yesterday, a request from the applicant to defer this to another meeting. They did not specify what meeting, but they had a conflict, scheduling conflict within their office. So we'll be skipping over item number 6, and then you'll see it appear on a later agenda. So the next discussion item we have is Stone Ridge Commons Site Plan on Route 52 and Palin Road.
This went much better than I thought. Gas station. We had the gas station out for half an hour. Technical difficulties.
Just the CD, because I was looking
Right.
for paper.
No, on the CD,
Which is fine.
the EAF and everything was all in the CD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I saw that.
Hi, good evening. Dennis Lynch with Day Engineering, Mark Day. Like you'd mentioned, we were here to discuss the Stone Ridge Commons site plan. These are 2 existing lots that were created as part of the original subdivision for Stone Ridge. The rest of the subdivision is back along here and also has an entrance on Palin Road. Since then, these 2 lots have been rezoned. It's rezoned as the B1A. As part of that, there can't be any connection between the residential and the commercial. So one of the bigger changes here is the existing road now comes out here onto 52, and it's a right out and a right in. What we're proposing is to have a cul-de-sac here to isolate any of the traffic that's coming through from the subdivision. We're also going to modify this entrance here. There's an existing island that's here. We're going to make this a right in and a left in and a left out. We're also going to have a, oh, no left, I'm sorry, right out, no left out. There's also going to be an entrance here, which would be leaving the site. You can have left out, right out, and then just a right in, no left in. If you could just go to the second.
I'm sorry, this was already rezoned?
Correct.
So I thought the previous application was encountering resistance to the rezoning, so that did happen.
The rezoning happened.
Okay.
It happened with certain modifications and restrictions, as he pointed out, no through road into the residential.
And wasn't there also wasn't this like part of a set-aside that was tied to the original approval, or not?
Set aside?
These were actually two residential lots. Under the original Stone Ridge application, these were two residential lots. And as Dennis mentioned, the road as it is now currently comes through the Stone Ridge project and exits out onto 52, or touches 52, I should say.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, Mark, so it was never a set-aside? That was not like supposed to be,
No, it was
stay
one of the
undeveloped?
alternatives, though, that was discussed in the DEIS, or the EIS.
Excuse me, what do you mean by set aside? I think maybe.
There was, I remember John Koch discussing this when he was on the board, that that was one of the lots that was supposed to be,
No, I think he always referred to the area of non-disturbance along the perimeter on Palin Road.
Right.
There was a strip of land that has a restriction called non-disturbance, not a conservation easement, but
Okay.
non-disturbance. But the town board has indicated that as long as they extend the area of non-disturbance across the 52 side of it, that they would consider consenting to an access through the non-disturbance on Palin Road.
thank you.
I think that's what you were talking about as far as the set aside.
First,
Right,
page 2.
thank you.
Yeah, just go, just one second. One more, Mark, back. The overall site plan. This here originally was part of the non-disturbance. We are proposing this entrance in here. Originally, this didn't come all the way down to 52, so what we're doing is going to be swapping out whatever disturbance we have here is the exact disturbance that we're creating here.
Okay.
And understand the reason why we have to come out on the Palin is because of the configuration. There's no way out of this site because of the restrictions on New York State 52 and Palin Road. So we needed to get out of here somehow, i.e. the Palin Road exit.
We have met with the DOT and the county on that. We do have preliminary or conceptual approval on both those from the county and the.
Is that gonna be a full access entrance onto 52, as opposed to what it is now?
No left.
No left out.
No left out, so you won't be able to make a left out here. We are proposing this turning lane to go into the site.
You're gonna do that with an island?
There's an existing island there that's gonna be taken out.
But I mean, how do you control the left turn out? So it's gonna be a right turn in, a left turn in,
Yes.
but no left turn
Out.
So you have to do that by making a slip ramp to the right.
I mean, we can look into.
Okay. But, and then if I understood you correctly too, Dennis, you said on Palin Road, there's right in, right out, left out.
Yes.
But no left in.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, again, which is something that I think would probably need some type of positive control. in the
But Brendan, you confirm with DOT that they won't permit the left out?
No, I haven't.
Because I heard rumor that that might be on the table.
Okay, yeah, I haven't.
It's pretty close to the light though, Scott. Wow. It's very close to that light.
And I'm sorry, what are these uses gonna be?
Right now, we're proposing office. This would be an office building here, an office and a bank. Right now, there aren't any proposed tenants, so that may change, but right now, we're assuming that it's gonna be office. Go next.
For the folks that are in this subdivision now that have a residence, we're eliminating their ability to access 52?
It's not a dedicated town road yet.
It's not, that was
It
gonna be
hasn't
part of
been
my
accepted
question.
by the town.
But isn't this also, doesn't this mean that the residents will only have one in and one out for their entire
I think it's
subdivision?
proposed that there'll be an emergency access off this cul-de-sac street.
Okay, all right, I wanna make sure that we're
If you see the
not.
plan close up, it has emergency.
Yeah, my original map didn't have that
Yeah,
layer,
I
so
think
that's
what had
fine.
come up during those meetings, public hearings, is that people are using this as a cut-through. Like the students or whatever.
To avoid the traffic
To
light,
avoid the
people are
traffic
going
light,
through the
people are using
subdivision.
this as a cut-through, and this would help eliminate that.
Okay, but for all the residents who live there that have to work somewhere.
But it's the residents that are complaining that it's being used as a cut-through.
But you'll hear
I'm
from
sorry,
them
we're not
at
in
your
public hearing,
meeting.
but
You'll hear from them at the public hearing.
it's fine.
Yeah, can I talk as the applicant?
Sure.
Yeah, we actually met with the residents twice.
Okay.
We had them over at Auburn Ridge, what happened was, we got complaints that John Jay kids were like literally doing 90 miles an hour and using it as a cut through. The contractors working on the site, I met with them, and they told me that it's no joke, that they actually have to step into the road to slow the cars down. So I did email John Jay's principal, school superintendent, John Hickman, asked him what he could do. I says, you know, if he could tell them if they get caught, they lose their parking permit. So it has calmed down. We put stop signs up, children playing, things like that. But we did have 2 meetings with them, and they all wanted the cul-de-sac.
Okay.
You know, they all want it. So that's not even an issue. They're happy about it.
I'm just kind of surprised they want the cul-de-sac at 52 and not on Palin, but okay.
No, they want, well, that's because that's where the cut through is.
Okay.
So, you know, they're very happy about
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but you can't make the left coming out, so.
But you wouldn't want to make the left coming out.
No, but you have a
I-
full
I still
access
say
on
that.
Palin, but you don't have a full access on 52, so if you cul-de-saced it up on
You don't
Palin,
have
you
a full
can't.
access on Palin.
What's that?
You don't have a full access on Palin.
No, the Stone Ridge.
The existing.
No,
The
I know
existing
it- I know
subdivision
it-
does.
You
No,
told
but
the
I'm talking about
entrance
to
up
get
over.
into the site.
Right.
You can't
Not
even-
your site, I'm
Oh,
saying.
He's talking about the existing entrance further up Palin.
But that's why you
I
can't
got
cul-de-sac it
you.
up
I
there.
got you. Yep. Okay.
You want to go to the next page, please? This is the existing Lot 22. It's approximately 3.16 acres. We're proposing a 2-story building here. You'll have access to the upper story here with parking. This will go down, and you'll have access to the lower level in the back here. So as you're looking from 52, it will look like a 1-story building. Basically, from the back, you'll have a 2-story building. We'll have access coming in here to the dead end. You'll have access to both sites. We have parking along the front here and in the rear for both uses. We propose stormwater retention pond along. There's existing there. We're going to make some modifications to that pond to accommodate the additional impervious that we have from the site. As you can see here a little closer where the cul-de-sac is, it's going to be a 40-foot radius cul-de-sac with a 50-foot right-of-way, and also there will be a 25-foot landscape buffer around here. As mentioned before, there is going to be an emergency access here for any emergency vehicles. There'll be a gate here, and they'll have access to that. Do you want to go to the next?
Were we doing low shrubs there? I think, right, you were doing low shrubs, yeah?
Yeah, but we haven't gotten to that.
Right, I understand, but we were talking about doing.
Yeah.
This is the 23, Lot 23. What we're proposing is 2 buildings here, a 1-story office building and a 1-story bank. You'll have this 2-way traffic coming through here out to Palin, parking along the front and the side here, and a 1-way drive-through here. As mentioned before, this is all the non-disturbance area here. We will be extending it down to 52. There's also, as part of the code, also on the other side too, there's a 50-foot landscape buffer between 52 and the site.
How much are you gonna have to change the grade of the, I mean, I seem to think there's a hill there, right? That's very steep.
There will be a berm, pretty good sized berm along the property here. This is graded approximately at 5% or 3 to 5% coming through here, and it's a little bit of a hill here. So there'll be basically a berm kind of coming along here. This will be actually sunken down, and a little lesser on the other side, where both these sites will be hidden from 52.
Also, you should mention, it's tough to see on this, but there's a sizable retention basin. It
Along the
doesn't
back here,
come up in the back, and that's part of the stormwater system for the entire site. So that's part of that hill, I think.
Okay.
Is that a fencing around it, Mark, or is it dry? Does it have standing water in it, or should it be?
No, that one doesn't exist as of yet.
Okay. Is it meant to have standing water, so?
No, it shouldn't. It's gravel over there. Should be.
It's going to be an infiltration basin. So right after a storm event, there will be some water, but there won't be a normal.
Okay.
Normally, there won't be any standing water in this site and the other site.
Basically, we're here tonight to just get some feedback from the board before we go into a little bit more of a detailed plan, such as lighting and landscaping. And
One of the things we were wondering, is it a good idea, would the board think, should we open this public hearing? So that, any hard design we do from this point forward, it would obviously be landscaping, lighting, which we could propose on the next plan that the public would see. But I'm just wondering if it's not a good idea to maybe get input while we develop the plan.
Not necessarily opposed to that. I guess I want to make sure, Michelle and Joe and Brendan, that we've had our initial conversations, because if there's kind of glaring things we want to make sure are adjusted, I'd rather have a version of the plan that we think would be fairly
I
complete.
think you have to nail it down with DOT to exactly what the traffic movements are gonna be.
Yeah.
And procedurally, you're gonna have to add a subdivision or an amended subdivision map, because that right-of-way now is shown on the file map and needs to, so you're gonna have to, or if it's under 20,000 square foot, there is a lot line realignment, and if it's not, it would have to be an amended subdivision.
what we'll be proposing is moving the lot line between the entrance and providing a easement, access easement over the.
Right, but right now, that
Well,
50
yes.
foot is on the file map.
Yes.
So we have to, just make sure that's part of it, so.
Brendan, do you want to start?
Sure. Probably the most significant comment is that, just based on the square footages of the building and the intended uses as office buildings and a bank, looking at just preliminary traffic generation numbers, obviously the PM would be the critical timeframe here based on those uses. It is significant. It probably, in the PM would generate more than this site has the potential to generate more than 100 cars. Palin Road and 52 is already a pretty highly taxed intersection. Lots of auxiliary lanes. Not only would you have the site altered from this development, but if you were to push all the traffic from the subdivision now onto Palin Road, anyone that wanted to travel eastbound on 52 would have to now use this intersection also. So you're adding that traffic to the Palin Road intersection. So I think the traffic will require a full traffic impact study.
And I wouldn't discount the morning traffic either.
No, not discounting it. I'm just saying,
Okay.
I think that, just the critical time frame, based on the proximity of IBM and John Jay, certainly the AM is significant also.
Yeah.
Certainly the modifications, and even adding to that, I think you guys proposed a left turn lane on 52. A new
Yeah.
left turn lane.
For the eastbound traffic.
So, that in itself requires analysis to make sure that the appropriate amount of storage and length is there.
There was, not to cut you off, I know as part of the rezoning, there was some extensive traffic studies that were done. I'll make sure you get a copy of that, and we'll make.
Okay. And if there was any coordination with or letters from the New York State DOT,
Yeah, all the conversation and correspondence we'll submit to you, so.
Certainly the modifications at the existing entrance are going to require a highway work permit. When I looked at the plan, the operation of the intersection was a little bit unclear, but I do understand that now. But I do think if you're going to limit those movements, the left turns in or out, that has to be done in some fashion where you need something like a raised island to actually really prohibit that. Palin Road is right in that area. It's actually a 4-lane section. So it's a right turn lane, a through lane, and a through left, or a left lane and a through left. So it's people coming out of that entrance actually have to cross 3 opposing lanes to take a left out of it. And then plus its proximity to the intersection. One of my comments was, looking at the possibility of shifting that entrance further to the north, as far from the intersection as possible. Not seeing the lane configuration on the mapping, I don't know if you can actually get it to the point where
It starts climbing up, kind of steep over here.
Okay. Or even get it beyond the point though, where all the auxiliary lanes are, because, right there you are discharging.
Oh, he hasn't spoken to him
Yeah.
Four-lane section of road.
Make that a full
And I think you should accurately portray what the lanes look like on
Yeah.
Palin, because,
That was one of my comments. Then some internal things, that, building A, maybe we thought might look at some consideration. You can't see it on this map, but if you kind of look over to connecting those two parking lots to improve circulation.
Connecting,
Connecting those two.
Oh, there's quite a bit of
there's
grade difference there.
about 12 feet of grade change between the two.
Okay, so it's not,
You say 12 feet vertically between the front parking lot and the rear parking lot, or are you
Correct.
saying there's just a dip between the two parking lots?
No, there's
No,
actually
there's-
grade change.
this-
There's one parking lot. The front's
you said the
higher than
parking
back.
lot next to 52 is actually at the second story level?
Correct.
And the back parking lot is at the first story level?
Correct.
Really?
You are making it with the access road on the right side of the building. I mean, you're making the grade, right?
We are just the closer, the proximity to, one, the grading for the pond here, and also, I mean, it's not shown on the plans, but we were gonna keep all the exterior utilities, the condensers and stuff like that along.
We can look at it, though.
I mean,
We'll
we'll-
look at
we
it.
can
I mean, if
definitely-
it's possible to do it, I think to the right of that building, there's not so much of a grade change. But to the left, it gets a little bit more exacerbated, but we'll certainly look at it. I mean, I agree. It gives
Or
it a
even,
little-
or even if, things could potentially be shifted to the right a little bit to accommodate that.
Okay.
Even the parking and the building itself.
Yeah, we could slide the building to the right.
You did show some turning movements for WV-40, we just asked that you include the 95 platform for the fire apparatus. Also, the only other minor comment I had is the one area that you showed for the refuse area for building, that's building B and C.
Yes.
If you can point to it, it's right there. It's sort of not in convenient location for the bigger building, and I also thought that if and when it's actually serviced, you're actually you're gonna end up blocking the access road, with a garbage truck or whatever, granted for a short period of time, but I just wondered if there wasn't some other spot that we might be able to consider to be a little bit more logical than that. That's the comments I had up to this point.
Can you just walk me through the circulation of this area of the parking lot right here? Is it two-way in on each of the middle driveways and it's one-way out for the?
Correct, it's two-way, this through road here.
But
This
coming
is
into-
two-way.
Okay.
This is all two-way, and it will just be one-way coming through here.
And it's just a single lane? Not a double
Through here,
lane
it's
for a
a single
bridge?
lane, yes.
And only office space in these other two buildings?
Yes.
No stores, no cafe, no?
B1A
there's-
doesn't allow any retail.
Okay,
It's just a bank or office space.
okay.
Soft.
So there's no ancillary use permitted or
Right.
something? Okay.
Mhm.
Because if we're talking about having 100 people working here, that's cars coming out at noontime too, that's, okay. Joe, any initial comments or anything that we'd want to revise before we might open this up for public comment?
Well, I know a couple of years back, prior to or as the rezoning was going on, there was, we looked at stormwater for these two parcels and how it relates to the larger subdivision, and I know they put together several, calculations related to that. That package wasn't submitted with this probably because they're, preliminary in the layout of things. And we would just want to have the SWIP and Dennis to touch on it now that, once the impervious area and the layout is more refined, they would tailor that and modify the SWIP to match So we would be looking for that. So we have some drainage comments, some suggestions about maybe a couple more catch basins and different things about grading the driveways. Thought the access and circulation makes sense, and of course there's the issue with the entrances to 52 and Palin Road, and we also mentioned about, so it looks like they're going to need a subdivision to change the Round Hill Road into a cul-de-sac. And
Sorry, Joe, you were saying you're looking for more retention? I mean, there's a huge retention pond just off the other side of that, right? I mean, it's
Yes.
not particularly aesthetic either.
No, that pond was sized just the hold, basically a 100-year storm without discharging. I know that was as part of the preliminary review for the, as part of the zoning, there was a preliminary SWIP that was submitted, and that was, under that review, that's what the sizing of these ponds became. There's this pond here, and also this longer pond that takes some water from the subdivision and all the new impervious that we're creating.
Right, so I guess my question was back to Joe. I mean, are you saying more retention ponds in addition?
no, I didn't mean to imply that. I just meant that was based on a certain layout. Now that they have a new
They just-
layout, they should compare that amount of runoff to what they're showing now and make it consistent.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
And, yeah, the water system, I mean, there might be a likelihood of being able to have municipal water in the area, so they were showing wells and septics that they could perhaps, run municipal water in, and they should consider that. We had some comments about the emergency access connections and details on the connector road and some different things. The rest of it was just kind of minor plan clarification stuff that they'll probably modify as they go along.
Okay. Michelle, any major points or things we'd want to change on the map before having soliciting public comment?
Just a couple, just clarifications that we have. I think there's a couple locations where it was a little inconsistent on whether or not it was going to be one lot or separated. I know it's two separate lots, but the EIS said it was 6.51 acres, so we just need to clarify that it's two separate lots with two separate acreages, and that I also had the subdivision and/or lot line realignment comment. Just the proposed height of the buildings on lot 23, because I think the chart was missing the height on that location. And then the site plan should be revised to show the required number of handicap parking spaces and ADA accessibility, and I believe it was for what the building that's going to be the bank. They didn't show any handicap spaces, so once, I know you're working on that level of detail, but, and then just providing a, once there's some set site layout, providing a site landscaping and lighting plan, which includes signage. And then also that the project needs to be referred to the ARB when it's ready, and we want the proposed locations and sizes of the signs on the plans that get sent to the ARB.
Just one question, point of clarification, as part of the rezone, you did a traffic impact study, or there was just a discussion of traffic?
No, there was,
Numerous, John Myers Consulting and R1, which Pearson, numerous. He was actually, he attended most of the town meetings.
So there was actually a traffic impact study, and you know the scope of it? I mean, it did look at the Palin 52 intersection?
We originally started with
8 intersections.
and like I said, we'll get a copy of that to you, and any correspondence with the DOT and the county. We'll submit for your review.
Brenda, one thing I would say is when I drive to work past the high school sometimes at the hour. I try not to do this, but sometimes at the hour where they're queuing up. And just coming back to the left-hand turn from eastbound 52 into this site, I think if it's not curbed, you're probably going to have cars queuing up waiting to turn left into the high school, right up through that. So that cars coming eastbound wanting to turn into this site may not have a turning lane at that hour of the day.
I mean, they actually queue on the hatch.
They queue all the way up back past Palin sometimes. I mean,
That'd be
it's
enforcement.
pretty,
Which roads do you get the,
I can just imagine if we restripe a portion of it.
Particularly when you got those big yellow bunkers.
Right now, this continues all the way, for us is all striped. What we're proposing is putting this turn lane in here.
And I'm just saying that there is a small turning lane for the high school, but essentially the traffic still queues up in two lanes all the way back past this. Yeah. So, again, I think if you curb it, probably less likely to have cars sitting in it that want to go west, but.
You know, also just an evaluation of the peaks too, and that happens at 7 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
A bank in an office where probably would see peaks, you know, the 8 to 9 o'clock hour.
I guess it depends what they're doing there, but it definitely happens. Okay. So we have a request from the applicant to bring this out for public comment and through a public hearing, opening it sooner than later, even though we know this plan isn't where we'd normally have it as far as some of the design. Any objection to that? Any concern
No, I think
with
that's a
that?
good idea.
Okay. Mark, it sounds like we talked about having a few tweaks to the plan before we bring it back in.
And I think we can do that. My goal is to, if there are any concerns about the cul-de-sac or any interaction with this site and obviously the homeowners in Stone Ridge, it's better to get it there now because we may modify the design. And as Joe mentioned, I mean, there's certain tweaks we've got to make to the SWID, which are a function of the amount of impervious we create, which may change based on some of the comments that the public bring up. So, I mean, I don't have a problem, and I'm sure we've done it in the past, where you just open a public hearing, you keep adjourning it until we can get the tweaks and we own it to a project that I think we all can work with.
Okay. Just understanding that it will likely lead to multiple adjournments as we go through the process.
No, I understand.
Okay.
I would suspect that.
Okay. May 7th is the next next space we have really for another public hearing. Our April meetings are. Well, I also need you to have the resubmission back in at least 25 days prior to that, so it'll be as if you're on the second April meeting?
Will be May 7th?
May 7th. Is that, okay. Do we want to see this back in for discussion one more time before May 7th? We can set the public hearing date now so you can get notices out and everything. Do we want to see the revised plans, or are we okay waiting until the 7th?
I'm okay. I'm okay waiting.
So do I have a motion to schedule this for a public hearing on May 7th?
So moved.
Second?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And Mark, just make sure, we do still want the CDs, but please give us every layer on the maps. I know it was inadvertent, but.
Well, there's some stuff we can't show.
Okay, well, if you could give us everything that you would be sharing with the public, like the parking lots, that would be great.
Did we miss part of it?
Yeah.
Oh, there was a layer off when I printed them out.
Yes, we will.
So we have to wait for lead agency.
Okay.
I was gonna actually check to see, I didn't know what was done for the rezoning and also I know the original subdivision, but we probably will have to circulate, but we probably should wait till the plans are at a point where we're not making major changes, because there's gonna be DOT.
We're okay to start a public hearing, though, just to get public comment. Understanding, the applicant understands we're gonna be adjourning this as we refine the plans.
Yeah, and I think we just need to wait until we know at least what the DOT entrances, because DOT is gonna be an involved agency, so.
Tom, do you have a concern?
Whatever the board's pleasure.
No, that is not the right answer. Do you have a concern?
Well, you know, if you open a public hearing and you don't have sufficient information, the public's gonna look at the board like, you know, I think you should nail down a few things about how you're gonna proceed with the traffic issue, the secret issue. You know, I'm not advocating putting it off, but,
Okay.
you know. it's like with the one that we had tonight, that's morphed into something different, and no one really has a handle on
The
it.
room will be full for the public hearing, I'm sure.
You really think so? I'm
Pretty
thinking,
close.
I'm thinking if you've already been meeting with the people in Stone Ridge, I'm thinking
But
this
that's a
one is gonna
derivative
be.
issue. The other issue, the bigger issue, is the drainage issue, even though it's been proven scientifically and engineering-wise that the water doesn't leave the site, there's another whole community that comes in on this.
Okay.
All right. If we want to have this back in for discussion, we can move this to the second meeting in May and have it back on May 7th to review it.
Whatever.
I just don't, I don't think there's going to be, I don't think there's going to be a final plan before May 7th that would be sufficient to circulate for lead agency.
There's no harm in trying it for some.
So positive tonight, Tom. So positive. All right. Michelle, are you comfortable that we open I know it's unusual for us that we open a public hearing before
I mean,
we've
I think
circulated.
if we give I think we need to explain why we're opening a public hearing when we are. If we're going to do it so the public is aware that it's to get public input on the project. But again, it does open a bit of a can of worms because you might not hear anything that you want to as far as the site's concerned from the public. So, you know, giving them the opportunity to comment early on.
Okay. Mark, you understand that there may be a point where we have to adjourn it for a period of time because we want to circulate. We get to a point, I mean.
But my only fear is, and I agree with everything everybody's saying, it's just that, you know, I've been involved in a number of projects where you start them and then because of something the public says, it just goes in a totally different direction. This is one of these projects for many reasons that I just would like to get the public's opinion before.
The initial input.
Correct. I mean, I
Okay.
think it's helpful.
I agree.
Okay. We'll preface it that way, and we'll make clear that there's steps that we haven't done yet that we normally would have.
And that they'll have input from this point forward, because we'll, as you say, keep adjourning it, so.
Okay. Is everyone on the board comfortable with that, recognizing we're a little bit out of order as far as lead agency? Okay. All right, then I think we're good. Do you have anything else for us or anything else you wanted from us this evening?
My question, when would the Taconic Innovations be back on the agenda?
And it's April 2nd.
Was it
It'll be the
April
next meeting.
Okay, I didn't hear
Yep.
that, okay.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, for decision.
For decision.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I was going to say, we didn't adjourn that. What are you talking about?
April 2nd,
All right.
2014.
No. Okay. The next item on our agenda is a referral from the town board for the Hopewell Sports Dome Ventures LLC rezoning. I think, do we have somebody here?
The petitioner.
Terrific.
And as for your comment about us being a little out of order, we're usually a lot of out.
There you go. So we're actually to the good. It's fine. And Tom, as far as timing, I know the town board is soliciting the planning board's comments on this, this referral. The timing would be to have the comments back within the next month or so?
Yes.
Okay. So just so the board is aware, I want to make sure that everybody understands that. So we'll probably put this on to solicit and finalize comments at our next meeting on April 2nd, and then if there's any refining to do, we would finish it up on the.
And also, I think this is a referral from the town board. The property owners filed an application that will require an amendment to the zoning ordinance. And the zoning ordinance requires it to be referred to the planning board for comment. And in light of our prior experiences when this happens, we thought it'd be good to ask the petitioner or the applicant to come in to make a presentation and to answer your questions so that you have a full handle on it instead of it filtering through the second.
Perfect. And folks, since we're not in public hearing, if you want, you can just turn that so
Yeah,
the board
we're
can
just
see it.
listening.
That would be great. Got it. Wonderful. Thank you.
Dan is just connecting a visual for you up there.
You're not gonna get with Rick.
You able to do that, Denise? Are you able to do that?
I think you have to.
Let's see if we can throw the flash drive in and put it up real quick.
And sir, if I could, while we're doing that, if I could just have you sign everybody in who's going to be speaking so we can capture your names for our minutes.
The sports one. The Kingdom. Kingdom.
Long day and long night.
You bet.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, if you just click on show the files, you'll. You can do the view images on it.
Get Bill's vote.
While we're doing that, I can't see the whiteboard. Could we just hand that down the board just to take a look?
Yeah.
Just to give us a feel for.
Yeah, these are Danbury Dam?
Yes, correct. Those were the originals.
One of the structures, we'll show you some photos and stuff of it's the
Okay.
Danbury facility.
For the Danbury.
Great.
It was just
The original
completed by
Danbury
these
site.
folks.
Okay. And is the Danbury structure similar in size to what you're proposing for East Fishkill? Because I think the Milton site's smaller,
The
right?
same exact model, but it shrunk because of property constraints. So now
Okay.
it's just a multi-sports facility without a baseball element. So it ended up being 270 by 420.
Okay.
So it's smaller, but that was designed around this model, original model, very close. So it kind of gives you a perspective of what's in it.
Dan, should I start? You good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first let me introduce myself. My name is Steve Feinstein. I'm counsel to the applicant. My office is down in Westchester. I've represented, we call the company ASADI by its pseudonym. It's Air Structures American Technologies Incorporated. And I've represented ASADI for almost 20 years now. And as you'll hear from the company chairman and its founder, Donato Fraioli, it is the preeminent air structure company in the world. It started it all. It's had all of the advancements and patents, and Mr. Fraioli will go through that with you in some detail. But it has been a great pleasure of mine to represent them all these years because I didn't know anything about the business, and in the last 20 years have learned some extraordinary things about the air structure business and seen it grow over that period of time. And the project that's being proposed which has been dubbed Sports Kingdom, is planned to be this fabulous indoor baseball and sports facility right here in East Fishkill. And everything that the Asadi folks have learned in 50-plus years in business is being brought to bear on this proposal, on this structure. And unlike proposals where I normally appear with the Asadi folks as they support another purchaser who's buying one of these structures for a particular use, this is a proposal where Asadi and its principals are gonna own this one. This is for them. This is their crowning achievement in all these years. And I know that they're very, very excited to answer your questions and explain a little bit about it. So I want to introduce Donato Fraioli. As I said, he's the CEO and chairman of the company. He'll give you the background on the air structure business and some of their accomplishments, so you can gain what I think would be great comfort in knowing who it is that's proposing to do this and to operate this. His son, Dan Fraioli, is to my right. This is really Dan's brainchild. Him and Denise, his wife, is also here. Have 3 boys. They've grown up in the world of youth sports, especially youth baseball. And this is an homage and a tribute to them and what they think would be a fabulous place for families and for baseball. They've traveled all over the country, all over the East Coast for tournaments, everything up to Cooperstown to Long Island and parts in between. But this is what would fit the bill for all those youth sports. So let me ask Dan Fraioli to come on up and talk, or I don't know if you need to use the computer.
I think I need to direct them what, it's not laid out where you see the picture.
All right, well, it's informal. I'm sure they can follow along, so.
Yes, I'm Donato Fraioli. Pleasure meeting you. Nice being here this evening with everyone. The company Asadi, Air Structures American Technologies, I started it when I was 22 years old in New Rochelle, New York. We started it with recognizing that air-supported domes were purely engineered and built for the military. Very popular were the radomes, domes that were a 3/4 sphere covering our radar antennas, protecting our security by covering major antennas for the government along our boundary lines. Well, I saw that had a limited future because, how many radar antennas are we going to cover? We had a nice business building them for the military. We built other military type structures, but we were the first to take the air-supported structure and introduce it to the commercial world. Before that, there was never a tennis court under an air-supported dome. There was never an ice rink under an air-supported dome. All of the sports and recreational facilities you see today under an air-supported dome, we created starting back in 1962. So we do have 50 years plus experience, but more important, we pioneered and built every first of its kind that's in use today worldwide. We do a lot of work in China, Abu Dhabi, Germany, India. We built a lot of structures, and we are proud to say that not only we pioneered the industry, but we're still the only company setting the roads to diversifying the use of air-supported structures for all types of applications. I'll show you where it began. If you can go up to the first photograph at the top here, excuse my back, right here. The big breakthrough, I can't find it. It's there, that's it. Isn't that interesting?
That's what happens when a Mac meets a PC.
That I can't say.
They brought it all on the Mac, but I guess it's not possible to hook up the computer.
They can't type Mac into the
No, I think that's hardwired. I don't know that you
If you just click that picture, I'll just walk you through, but we do need to get to some of the pictures of the projects for you to appreciate the domes that we're building. But it was what we're trying to open up in Harvard University in 1967. I had the opportunity to go against several competitors, and they all had different types of structures for covering their track and field. And I was awarded the contract, and Saudi built it, and at the time was the largest in the world. It was an acre in size, 100 foot high, and that gave the structure major exposure throughout the United States, and the use of air structures for suddenly covering open fields that are dormant in the winter, and now suddenly they became year-round facilities. So Harvard was the big first multi-sports facility. It does show there, but it won't.
I'm just going to ask, does our connection to the projector work on that laptop? Because you're welcome to plug it in if it does. It's not a network
I
cable.
don't think so because it connects through this,
Okay.
this
I
port
just
that's
thought if you had a
usually for
cable
monitors,
port that worked.
They don't have the same connection for it.
All
So
right.
I have an
It's worth
adapter
a shot.
that I've used in the past, but we don't have it tonight.
Okay.
Do you have each of the photographs of mine, at least to walk, you can check to the next one? The only reason why I'd like to show you the history, so you'd appreciate the growth of the domes and the technology over the 50 years. Now, are you able to go to the next photograph on that?
Why don't you go over there with him and then you can change it and then pass the laptop around as we chat a little bit about.
Sorry for this. Let me see. Hold on, that's, okay, once we go here. Okay, so now we're just doing this. So, if you don't mind walking it around.
No, we'll walk it around.
All right, so the next breakthrough for bringing it to the general public, rather than just to the universities, we had the ability to cover the piers down at Wall Street with two domes that were 680 feet long, and they were for covering tennis courts. They were the first tennis courts in the New York area, although we had a couple more in Long Island. But again, the exposure here, and they were up until 9/11 when they had to remove them from the piers. But that went from 1968 to today. I'm going to get into that in a second. Then, of course, there was the World's Fair where we did the dancing water pavilions. You don't have photographs of that. And New Jersey pavilions. Again, we introduced the air structures to the world at that point. From there, we've grown to build basically all the primary structures that are used by universities or NFL teams, be it the Giants, the Jets, Denver Broncos, Philadelphia Eagles, Seattle. We do it across the board, and we're basically the single supplier to NFL. And domes, other than for only the football and tennis, are multi-facilities. You can see the shape in that dome there, how they've graduated from looking like bubbles to a structural system. We developed and patented the cable net system, which is a cargo net. Although it looks large on the floor when it's on the dome, it's very much a very thin strand of cable that encapsulates the entire fabric structure. What that does, basically, is allow Saudi to stay ahead of all others in the industry in the sense that our structures are built to meet exact same building codes as a permanent building. We don't lower the bar for air structures. We build them to meet the same wind load you have for your local ordinance, same snow load for your codes. We're the only structure in the world that ever went to BOCA, the Building Code Officials of America, in Chicago, back in 1988, and for a year provided them all the engineering materials, construction details on our dome, our methods for building the structure in its entirety, and the only air structure company to receive BOCA's acceptance, and they gave us the award of an official certificate citating that we do have structures built to meet code requirements. And from that, we did, of course, to expand the business, we put up 42 buildings on the Alaska pipeline. A very big success for Asadi there, because we were then working with the larger companies, Bechtel and Floor, and several Daniels Construction. Everyone now recognized air-supported structures are no longer the bubbles that they still hold a nickname for. There are bubbles, they're my competitors, but there's no question our structure is the one built with the most safety factors built into it. Tiers cannot propagate. We can support, as I say, building code requirements, including the fabrics, of course, meet NFPA 701. 2-second flame out doesn't support combustion. An example of that in my own town, Mamaroneck, where I was raised up in Mamaroneck, New York, the clubhouse, which was attached to it on the exterior side, wasn't as fireproof, and they had a fire there, and the clubhouse burnt completely to the ground, and just the rim of where it was attached to the rim of our fabric was it charred. It never supported flame, and it never burnt down. So the bottom line is Asadi never took a shortcut in building the structure to conform to codes. It always was proud to put the bar a little higher. Of course, we were smart enough to realize the more experience we have over all others, we can build that structure to a higher level than others, and that awarded us, in most cases, all the major projects across the world. Just recently, 2 years ago, put 64 buildings up in Russia. And they're all used for sports. We built them all in a one-year period of time. So we've had a lot of success, tough industry to be in, lots of ups and downs, but the truth is we still hold, from our pioneering days to today, always setting the course and building the first of its kind structures. Well, my son soon will talk about the facility that he built his dreams on. And fortunately enough, in our 50 years, we brought our technology to a level where we're very comfortable and satisfied with all the engineering calculations to support it, that this is just another dome for us. And it's positively going to react like no other dome has for us. And this is exciting because we're not building it for someone else who's presenting it to you today, who's purchasing it from Asadi. This is our dome. This is the dome we want to build, so to speak, on our 50th anniversary. And we're very proud of it because it's going to make a very, very strong statement worldwide. And we've chosen your community to put it in.
This will be the first one that you've retained ownership of?
First one, well, I shouldn't say that because there were a few in prototype stages. What we like to do is run a business within the dome that we're building the dome for to see that it's truly meeting a financial success. So in White Plains, New York, on Mamaroneck Avenue, near the Hutch Parkway, I worked closely with the county who leased us the property for winter months only, and we turned their parking lot to the very first indoor golf range. It had 50 tees, 30 players on ground floor, 20 on the second floor, and all that really was about, one, to prove that there was going to be a profit in the business so that we're not chasing up a tree where why develop and design or engineer something if there's no future marketplace for it. So we ran it for 5 years for a 5-year lease in White Plains. We were the owners here. Here, we're not building this for the purpose of proving out a business plan. Yeah, here, we're building this because we're looking at a long-range life in this structure. My son, of course, leading it off, will tell you in a minute that it's not all about him either. He has 3 boys behind him, and he really wants to put a safety net under their future, as we all do, especially in today's world and economy. I believe this is going to be the most exciting project of all my projects I've built, and I've been all around the world, built many exciting projects for many applications. The first full indoor baseball, and at that 4 fields, not one. We did one for Jack Cust, retired pro out of the Baltimore Orioles in Flemington, New Jersey. But it had limited space. It was 1 field. It was limited, although a tremendous success for him. We are taking it to the next level to make it, without any question, a full use baseball facility that has no restrictions, and you can train, practice, play in here no differently than you would on an outdoor field. So I'm sorry I don't have all the photographs. There are a lot of photographs I would have liked to show you, both exteriors and interiors, so you could see also that the shapes of the domes are no longer the blobby bubbles. They were bubbles in the beginning, but as we grew, we were able to, as I say, fit it to become more a structural product. That picture you had on before in New Hampshire, did you see that one here? This is the type of profile and shape we're going to introduce here. If you notice, the structure's mounted on an 8-foot concrete wall, front side only. Again, the engineering work that we're doing now, site work, will predict the exact final design of the entire facility. Not that it'll change much, but there will be changes that obviously will develop as we do soil tests and get final dimensions from the site. But all I'm saying to you is that we're proud to be here, and we're hoping we can get approvals, because I believe this will be a landmark for all of us. And as far as the dome facility that my son put together, you might want to talk a little bit about the dome. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Be happy to answer any questions on the operations. I feel this is the ultimate in youth sports as a venue. We plan on running baseball, soccer, lacrosse, flag football, a multiple of turf sports here as venues in leagues, in tournaments, in showcases. Again, the layout is a 4 full field Little League layout. That's the primary model of this facility. So you'll have 200 by 200 fields, which is a typical Little League field, with the ability to convert it 2 ways. You can go diagonally and probably host a 13, 14-year-old tournament or game. I wouldn't go above that because, again, center field would be short, but you'd be able to learn how to play on the big field, which is a 60, 90-foot diamond. So we would be able to convert that to 2 60, 90-foot diamonds on the baseball side of it. We'd also be able to take down the barrier and have 1 large, full-size major league field that you could play an actual major league baseball game on. And again, it would be similar to Yankee Stadium. It's a 400-foot by 400-foot square. And again, there would be no limitations. We don't want to have to go by anything but Little League rules when we play. That's the way we design this. So, you know, a foul ball is a foul ball, a fair ball is a fair ball. You're not hitting the ceiling, you're not hitting the wall. Yes, sir?
The seating, I mean, what kind of crowds will come?
Well, you know, typical to what you'd get in this model with the Little League, what you'd get at a Little League game in your park. So you'd get, some parents will stay, some parents will go and drop off. When you're in league play, unless you're having a specific showcase or an event, spectator-oriented, you're going to have your typical park-type spectators. Now, we'll have spectator seating on the field And if you see that center section between the multi-sport field and the baseball field, that's about 30 foot wide by 430 foot long, and it's going to be built like a bridge. The upper deck, the majority of it will be built for spectators also, a lounge area, bleachers, so you can view either side of the facility. I do.
So the usage would be like tournaments and that kind of thing? It wouldn't be, let's bring up like a semi-pro team for an exhibition or something?
Only for a special event. I mean, if you were to, for example, bring an old-timers game up here, you had a Boston Yankee old-timer game, then it would be a spectator venue. You'd have 2 teams in there. But our business model really focuses on youth, Little League baseball in the 4-field configuration.
When I was looking at the blueprint, one of the things I was intrigued by is like, what kind of a crowd? I mean, what are the numbers and like the parking? What are you anticipating?
We're in the engineering phase of parking, so we're getting as many parking spaces. I can't give you a number off the top of my head yet, but we're working on what the site will allow with the model that we have there. But again, it's going to be very similar to your park down the road with your fields. Again, you should probably expect that to be parallel to what you're seeing now. How many fields do you have down? You have some fields down the road here?
Yeah,
We got a lot of them.
I think there's like 4 fields, yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, when you go to an outdoor, there's not much, aside from being protected by the weather, you're in a 4-field facility with 4 multi-sport fields adjacent to it. So you would have your traffic coming and going, you'd have your turnover, which we would stagger, obviously, so everyone wouldn't bang heads and be leaving and coming at the same time. But, you know, again, with a facility this size, you could host special events with quite a few people in there. But typically in this model, it'll be set up just like your Little League venue in your town.
And is it an AstroTurf or?
This will be all turf.
Okay.
Correct. It'll be
And
turf.
would have the underneath, I can't think what it's, like a rubber material for the sponginess?
Correct.
The running
Yes.
experience?
Yeah, it's
similar to-
infilled with the rubberized
Similar like a
pellets.
football
Yes.
stadium field or something
Correct.
like that?
Yes.
I think this is a great idea. But
Thank you.
that site tends to be very wet, particularly as you get out. Have you, I mean, done any initial analysis?
We're actually, next week, we have a wetland surveyor coming out there to give us his input on what's wet, what's not, if anything. Initially, we didn't really find wetlands on the site. We've been reviewing plans and details of the past people that have gone there, and there may be a corner of the back left-hand side that may have a wetland on it, but we're not sure. So we're going to have that flagged, and that would happen within a week or as soon as the snow gets off the ground.
Dan, and beyond just wetlands concerns, just general wetness concerns, Mr. Trinkus, the consulting engineer, is aware of all those concerns, and is the move is in place now to just get all the answers that we can.
And I'm
Right.
sorry, normally I'm coming at this a little slightly different, is could that change like how many fields you have? Because
Sure. If we were able to get the overall plan, there are 5 outdoor fields on our original conceptual plan. We don't know if we'll be able to have all of those
But
fields.
that will be site plan issues. I mean, basically, the referral, the questions have to be,
Right.
are known as the height.
Correct.
And the size, how big this facility is.
And I think we should, yeah, I think we should move into that. Just give us a feel
Sure.
for the average size dome that you build of this nature and how this compares to it. And
Again, the Danbury Dome was about 3.5 acres. It's 90 foot tall, 270 by 420, I believe.
Okay.
This is 450 by 700. It's 150 feet tall. So in comparison to the Danbury Dome, and I would encourage a visit to the site, you'll get a pretty good feel of what this is going to be like. You know, visually, the height, you know, you don't see that much of a height difference when you're at 90 or 120 feet. You'll get a feel for what it's going to look like on the site if you can, you know,
That's only
make
at
a
the
visit.
very tip of it, right?
It's only at the very tip. Yeah, when we say 150 feet, it's at the very point of the top of the structure. So everything's gauged on a mean height, for engineering and approval purposes, because the dome is curved. So that usually, or is typically about 50% of the actual height, since that actual height is only at the very, very peak of the dome.
Okay.
Okay.
And how about color of the dome and that sort of thing?
The dome is
that all to
white.
be determined? Oh, it's always
Yeah,
white?
it's always, yeah, it's white.
What keeps that, what keeps that up? Positive pressure?
Air pressure.
And there has to be a system?
Constant flow. We'll have 4 inflation units on this building.
Emergency generators? and all that?
Emergency backup and generators, correct. We'll have a tri-level of safety features here. This is 7.2.
And Mr. Fraioli's comments about all over the world and everything, always white? You haven't,
No, Siwanoy Country Club, for example, is green. They wanted a green dome. The problem is, when you color a dome, it becomes opaque. So what we utilize, and one of the greatest features of a dome, is natural daylight. So you don't have to turn a light on in this facility until it gets dark. It's over you'll create over 1,000 foot candles of lighting in the dome during the day without any lights on. So for energy purposes, it would, unless you had to have an opaque structure, it wouldn't make sense to do that.
that's the answer, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
And also, I'm going to tell you, on the industrial side, but not recreation, we built a 7.5 acre dome down at Corpus Christi that was strictly for covering a very large pollution problem that was escaping from a commercial landfill site, and we domed the entire site of Corpus Christi, engineered for 120-mile-per-hour winds, and they actually used that dome until they completely filled the landfill site and then capped it and put the normal grading over it, and then the dome was removed. But for 10 years, we had a 7-acre dome in Corpus Christi for that environmental application. And again, I'm sorry I can't show you all these pictures. You'd get a great feel for the translucency in the structure, and that's why we don't add color, because all of that natural light, you don't have to have the hundreds of thousands of watt of light on at all times inside the dome. So it's a very green facility in that way, because between our new insulation, the feature we patented is 3-wall structure. It gives an R8. Well, we stop at R8, not that we can't go further and bring it to a higher R, but we do not want to reduce the light transmission through the 3 layers of fabric, because we have over 400,000 watts of lighting at nighttime to turn on to play in the facility with 60 to 70 foot candles. But we're getting a natural close to 1,000 foot candles just by the natural light that penetrates through the fabric during the daylight hours.
Oh, yeah, sure.
The height of the dome is 120 or 150?
150 feet.
150
It's a calculation determined by the width of the structure. It's typically 1/3 of the width of the structure.
Okay.
So at 450.
Okay, the trees there at the site are roughly how tall?
Between 80 and 100 feet, they look to be.
Okay, so it's about 1.5
Our guess,
times the tree height?
we haven't done a measurement, but you're probably anywhere from 80 to 100, 110 feet.
Okay.
But no one really sees the center of the dome height of 150 because it's a dome. And again, I had something here that I wanted to show you today, because it has always been very appealing to the various building departments where we put up these structures across the country. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I need to show it to you.
Under the bleachers, is there any other proposal for any other uses?
That'll be retail space. So underneath, we'd have food services, reception area, probably a video arcade, anything associated with the youth sports that would complement the facility. You'll have, obviously, restrooms and probably a physical therapy component to it, some strength and conditioning. Again, all related to the sports venue that we have going on in the facility.
In respect to the height of 150, which clearly is 150 high, it always alarms everyone to think we're 150-high building. But if you look at it in the sense of standing against a conventional structure with a flat, straight wall, that's 150 foot high. And certainly, no matter where you stand, looking upward towards the sky, the vertical building shadows the entire site. But on a curved structure, a dome, you basically, looking tangent to the curve of the structure, your eye sees the sky without any interruption, and where the tangent line hits the dome, and the engineers want to know here that that's called the mean height. So usually when you ask how high is the dome, in terminology of mathematics, it's the mean height, and the mean height is only about 50% of the center height of the dome, because you never see the center of the dome. It doesn't give you the same obstruction when you hear about a building 150 foot high when you're talking about a dome 150 foot high. And that's what allowed us to, in most cases, always receive the approvals for exceeding the local height restrictions.
I see the layout has, you have the baseball fields on one side, it looks like soccer or other types of.
Soccer, lacrosse, flag
lacrosse,
football.
okay.
Which can be converted also into a single field, regulation-sized soccer or lacrosse.
Okay.
Again, not really what we want to stress that will happen there, but it has the ability to do that.
Okay. So the side that is the baseball fields, that is the only use of that side would be as baseball, or you would be able to convert it at some point if you wanted to some other use?
You know, when you have
Right.
that much turf, you can cut it up any real, you know,
Okay.
in reality, you can cut it up any way you wanted to. I mean, you could make another 8 100 by 200 mini turf fields there for a multi-sport use.
So if you were having a tournament or something like that and you needed that, that
Correct.
would be something.
And we actually have the ability to turn the soccer fields into 2 more baseball fields.
Diamonds. Okay.
So you'd have 2 more 200 by 200 fields there if we were to do something.
Okay. And then, do you envision ever using this for any purpose other than sports fields like this? So a concert or
Special events, possibly, concerts. I mean, you know what? Being in the industry for so many years, it just what goes on in the domes, you know, people will buy them as a golf dome, and the next thing they have going, they have a car show, I mean, or, you know, I can tell you that probably 90% of its use would be this, but there probably be a 10% factor of a use that we didn't even think of, you know, special use.
Is it year-round, so it would be air-conditioned in the
Correct.
summer and heated in the winter?
Yes.
Or would you assume mostly in the winter it would
No,
be?
we'll be year-round, air-conditioned and heated.
Okay.
On these tournaments and everything, like, day-to-day as the use of this thing, how far are people coming in
Well,
numbers?
my personal experience, I mean, we travel down with my baseball teams for my sons, Myrtle Beach, go down to Florida. You know, you can come across, if it's a summer venue, you can have tournaments of multi-sport teams or baseball teams that come from around the country to visit. Typically in the fall, winter, and spring, you're going to get your 20-mile radius of league play, and weekends you'll probably draw a little further if there's a tournament going on. For example, we were out in baseball heaven in Long Island this weekend, you know, for a tournament. But you're not going to reach too much further.
The 20-mile radius is the day-to-day.
That's the day-to-day. We're, you know, for our leagues. And in this configuration, we estimate that we'd max out at about 172 baseball teams for those 4 fields on a 2-day-a-week, Monday through Thursday venue. So, you know, there are thousands of teams. I mean, you wouldn't have to reach out, I don't think, very far to be full.
So during a school day, you probably wouldn't be open, but then
Yeah,
start after school and go to how late? I mean, do you really have night games for
We
kids?
do.
Or?
We feel we'd have a senior league, an adult league, that would
Okay.
probably come in for the last 2 hours, the last
Okay.
game. We'd probably operate with youth sports probably till 10 o'clock seems like when everybody bails out of the local training facilities and things when you're, you know, between 8 and 15 years old. So probably 10 o'clock weeknights for the youth sports, and then we would see what the demand would be for the adult play. More in the multi-sports, I believe we'd have the an older crowd, adult, more than the baseball. That would go later. Now, the date, to answer your question about the daytime, again, in our business model, we don't have anything allocated between those hours of the day, but we know schools will get involved with us. You know, local schools, I'm sure, would want to have access here, and you know, there's a program in New Jersey called Soccer Moms where they fill a facility and moms drop off their kids and they come and they play soccer. So we will be open. Again, it's just not structured in our overall business plan right now.
And I hear you later at night, you're assuming you'll have an adult league. What would be the age range of the kids? Is it anywhere school age? Would there be preschool programs? I mean, what's
Again, during the day, there may be a mini sluggers baseball program that goes on. It depends on the demand here in this immediate community because they're really not going to travel very far to do that.
Right.
So, you know, we'll develop that as we go and we see what the demand is. The ages, typically, you know, they'll go up to 18 years old. You know, they'll play, depending on the configuration. The 4-field configuration goes up to 12 years old. So you can go from 5 to 12 if you want to be specific. Yeah.
Thank you. When you say there's going to be in the, is it just in the center walkway that it's two levels?
Correct.
Or
The
is there
30
like a
foot,
basement
see,
underneath
I borrowed
the
a little
fields?
laser here. This, let's see if we can get it on here.
No basement.
Here we go. No basement. But when you come in this bank of doors, there are 4 revolving doors here, you'll come into a reception area. Again, this is under architectural review right now for our in-house.
That's fine.
So we haven't laid it out. Then you'll have an area of restrooms and offices and some sort of food court here, probably in the center. Strength and conditioning, video arcade. We consider it a barber shop because, believe it or not, that's a big deal for kids with these crazy haircuts that they get on these baseball teams, who's got lightning bolts in their head and who's got little things. So we wanted to put like a novelty, old-fashioned barber shop in here as just one of the concepts. Again, just to cater to the the kids. And what else do we have in here? Do you remember anything else? What up? Tutoring. Yeah, tutoring. So we'll have a host of retail.
So aside from the restrooms, are there locker rooms? Are there showers? Are there?
No showers. We were thinking of lockers, but we're leaning away from the locker room now because we want to move people as quickly and easily as possible. So we'll probably have check-in at the front desk, and we'll have the baseball teams bring their equipment to the field, and there'll be a location alongside the field where they can drop their stuff instead of going into a locker room.
Okay.
Because what we'd expect them to immediately do is, as they check in and they put their bags down, take their baseball bats and go upstairs, because on the upper deck on each end here, there are going to be 4 and then 4 here batting cages. So we want them to go warm up upstairs and get off the floor. Until the buzzer rings, they would come down, grab their bags, the other team would check out, they would leave.
Okay, and are there scoreboards or something mounted
We
here,
will
or-
have scoreboards out here.
Okay,
There'll be scoreboards, there'll be an audio PA system.
so it seems like and I'm just trying to get a feel for how the use of this is gonna go, but it seems like you're trying to accommodate, if somebody comes to this facility, they're gonna be here until they're done, and then they're
Correct.
gonna leave, as opposed to be here, walk across the street for something, and so it
Well,
seems like you're
I
trying to
think-
provide your services within this building.
I think the players, the participants will be there, but in my experience through travel baseball, after you hit the concession stand 4 or 5 times as a parent, you don't want to go there anymore. So they will travel, the participants' families or whoever is handling them getting in and out of the place will use the local community services, I believe. I mean, they'll go to the local restaurants, they'll go to the coffee shops, the Dunkin' Donuts down the street. I think they'll use all of the services, in the area that would work for them. Again, I don't
We
think
don't have any
anybody.
Dunkin' Donuts here.
No Dunkin' Donuts?
No.
I don't know. I would-
No, we've got about one every half
Right.
mile, actually. I was kidding.
So, and Steve just brought up a good point. The hotels here will be swamped at one point or another. We will,
I was gonna go there. I
We-
mean,
yeah,
Hotels are not that close, right?
they don't have to be that close. I mean, there's a hotel here out on the corner. that-
Sanabis, but then after that, there's like.
Well, on Route 9, there are a few.
Yeah.
And that's probably, the impact would really be favorable for them.
So you
I
feel
mean,
those hotels are close
Those,
enough?
yeah, those hotels are absolutely close enough.
Okay.
Until we make the next application for the hotel.
Gotcha.
Right.
So,
Gotcha.
this question is more for Tom. Hey, what really is the change that's
Well,
being
right now,
proposed?
there's nothing in our zoning ordinance that allows this type of facility and the height. So we would have to, the town board would have to consider adding we're thinking of a special permit to the zoning ordinance for large-scale indoor recreation facility, and would have to accommodate all of the dimensional needs of this type of facility.
Okay, because, I mean, what's there now is very close, but it's just a lot smaller.
Well, but
right?
all of the normal secret review, traffic review, wetlands, everything is still applicable. But the first step is to create a tool in zoning that even allows this type of facility. We
So
have
it's
a
primarily the
large-scale-
height and the height and the size of the building?
Right.
And the use would be part
Because
of
right
what
now, we have a
specifies the
special permit for large-scale outdoor recreation facilities. In fact, I think this site has such a permit.
Right.
So this would be a modification of that to also enable a dome-type facility.
So this is a new zoning classification,
Right.
not a variance, or,
No. This would have to
This
be
is
enacted
a
by the
new-
elected town board as the legislature.
okay.
And the existing, I'm going to call it a bubble, because I think it might be a bubble. The existing bubble that's on the site would
Okay.
stay there, or you would move it
We,
somewhere?
in our initial plan, it was not going to stay there, but then we spoke about the need, or we heard that there was a need for basketball and volleyball, and someone asked the question, will you have basketball, volleyball in your facility? And I said, that's a difficult thing to do, to convert from a turf field to a gym floor type
Right.
material. Not that it cannot be done, but it would be difficult. So we came back and answered that question by saying, we'll leave that existing structure there, we'll put a gym floor in there, and we'll put, hoping 2 basketball courts or church-sized basketball courts in that facility to accommodate more of the town need. It wasn't in our plan, but
Dan,
for.
that's a fixed wall building, though, right? That's
Correct.
not-
Yeah, it's not an air-inflated structure. It's not a bubble. It's a frame structure,
Okay.
covered in similar
Looks like a
material
bubble.
to a dome, but
Okay.
it's a
I
tension
knew
structure.
I wouldn't get it right, I just.
Yeah, no, it's not a bubble. And we plan on hopefully being able to leave the mini golf there, because that's a great, outlet for families when they're, not participating. The overall plan, the conceptual plan had 5 outdoor fields. We don't know, again, we're in the engineering process now, the real engineering of it, so conceptually, it's a great idea, and it looks good on paper, but we don't know where we're gonna be ultimately with those fields.
As far as the zoning change goes, aside from the height of the dome and what we've talked about, are there any other changes you're requesting or anything else that would be specific to that special permit that you really need for this use that you've requested?
I need the size and the height. That's key here. We need the 450 wide. Length really doesn't matter. I mean, it matters in this plan that we have, but
Right.
the width is key at the 450 and the 150-foot height, so we wouldn't have restrictions. Plus, it meets the criteria of our dome engineering. We have to have the height. But Steve may know.
Well, any of these interior uses that have been discussed would obviously have to be also part of any approval, either for the existing or under the augmented special permit. And so it's conceivable that it's more than just the physical dimensions of the structure. It may be, to have a barber shop or to have the food service or whatever it is, that's in addition to that.
Okay. And again, we had mentioned that there might be a use other than sports, if you had a special event or something like that. Would you anticipate, as far as this use that you would have to come back to the town and say, we want to have a special event and here's what we want to do, and there'd be a
Well, we-
special permit for an event? I guess maybe, Tom, that's more directed to you than.
Right, we right now have an ordinance for large-scale public assemblies.
Okay.
Which.
Bless you.
It's a Woodstock law, just as in, all towns right after Woodstock
Oh, gotcha.
adopted it
Yeah,
to
sure.
prevent that.
That makes sense.
But the town board has for the last few years been eyeing to amend that to drop the threshold. And the vision would be to amend that to take care of any indoor, several times a year, and it would be a permit process to the town board. Obviously, things we would envision there is alternate parking, that they may have to bus people from other locations.
Okay.
Porta johns perhaps, things like that, but that would be just for a one-time,
Okay.
large-scale event.
Sure.
So you would view that, though, as a separate
As a
act and
separate,
would be
correct.
outside of what this approval?
Correct.
Okay, great. I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Thanks. We've been working hard at it. Thank you. I think it really will enhance the community. I mean, this is I'm finding out more and more every day on how huge your sports community is here. And, I think it will enhance the town. I mean, it will bring people in from other towns, which will enhance the community overall in other ways. But I think just for the kids in the town here, this will be a big deal.
We'll have a lot of concern about traffic. And
I understand.
what happens when there's an
Sure.
event or some, a tournament or something like that. So that's
Right.
definitely something you're going to want to be able to answer. But as far
Okay.
as the use of it and the purpose of it, it sounds like a kind of really interesting.
Yeah, well, it
proposal.
does. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we really want to see this happen here.
This is one of your neighbors.
Uh-oh. Or should I say uh-oh, or should I say great?
Traffic.
As long as he can get out of his driveway.
Between 4:30 and 5:30, if somebody doesn't let me out, I don't get out.
We'll make sure we have somebody right at the end of your driveway for you every day. How's that?
Little orange vest. I would not want to be that person trying to stop the traffic on 52 between that up.
No, they let you out, they let you out.
Yeah.
What is the process you want
Well,
us to go?
the town board has solicited the planning board to review this proposal, review the zoning change, and has asked for our feedback.
Okay.
And so what we'll do is at our next meeting on the 2nd of April, we'll give draft some initial comments. We'll finalize them in the second meeting of April and give them back to the town board.
And
So this is, again, just what's in front of us right now is just the referral from the town board on the zoning change. There isn't a site plan or anything like that. That would come at the point where the town takes action on the zoning,
Okay, and so.
or a special permit.
So
Sorry.
what we've got now is what we're supposed to comment on.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and that's what we'll
And
want.
I'm sure between now and April 2nd, you'll have other
Yeah.
thoughts or issues, and then we can always
But
get
we wanted
answers
to
for
get
the
a feel for what this looked like and
Okay.
and what you were proposing, and this was
Sure.
exactly what we
Great.
wanted.
Hopefully, we answered all your questions. And any questions, again, communication has been great, from the get-go, so
Great.
we want to work closely with you guys, so your concerns are our concerns.
Hopefully during the course of this process, and as soon as you guys are comfortable, go down and visit Danbury. In terms of a large dome that's close, it's a great opportunity to get a feel for what this is gonna seem like.
And the one in Danbury, is that open to the public if we wanted to go inside, or do we need to?
They
go
haven't had
certain-
their official hard opening,
Oh,
but
okay.
obviously our relationship with the owners is such that if it hasn't been officially opened, it's ready to be occupied, and we can make sure access is provided to you. And we're just not 100% sure. The hard open is gonna be,
The parking lot isn't finished yet. Everything
They're
else
waiting
is
for the
finished, so
parking lot to get done.
they're waiting to finish their parking area.
the dome's up, the fields are in, it's lit and heated and ready to go.
Okay, ready, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks for staying so late.
Before we go, guys, just one more thing. We've been talking about, we have a training requirement for all of our board members, and we have an opportunity to have some training done right here at Town Hall. John, you attended some training for Hudsonia. If you want to just give us like a quick 1 or 2 minute blurb on that, and then we have a couple of proposed dates. I wanted to see if they would work, and we'd reach out to our other partner boards for the same.
Yeah, in September, I had a 3-day class at Hudsonia, which is just south of Rhinebeck on the Hudson River. And what they do is they do biodiversity habitat assessments. That's their primary outsourcing. And the director and I talked after the class, and she had done an assessment of East Fishkill in 2002. And she dropped off the assessment, the map, and a summary of what she found in the area. And she thought it would be, we thought it would be a good idea for her to come down and revisit that assessment that she had done. And she has, and I have one of the packages she left down here. So what would be good for everybody is you get 2 hours of, probably 2 hours of class towards your education requirements. It doesn't cost us anything. She's willing to come down and pay for everything.
It's kind of unique to our area, which sometimes we go to training and it's a little more general.
All right, no, that'd be great.
So, all you need to do is pick a date, and I think Pam has already talked to her, and she's agreed to a couple of.
She has a couple of proposed dates she could come, and they're both Tuesday evenings, either April 23rd or April 30th, if there's a day that works better for us than others. I was open either day, so.
Yeah, that's fine.
And of course, anybody else, any other,
We would definitely have, we
board
would definitely
members?
reach out to other board members, absolutely.
And it is something interesting to listen to anyway, even if you don't need the training requirements.
Right, absolutely. Okay.
What'd you say, what was the date?
We're looking at either April 23rd or April 30th.
Okay.
They're Tuesday nights, and if this board doesn't have a preference, I guess we would reach out to our partner boards, and if they have a preference, it sounds like we're pretty easy. All right, great. Thank you, John. Thank you for bringing that to us. Okay, I don't have anything else for the evening, unless
Motion
anyone
to
else does.
adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thanks, guys.